Chapter 57. Dark clouds hung low. The sky was gloomy. The wind was raging. The atmosphere was filled with killing intent. South Sky Square. People were moving. It was a sea of people. Countless citizens had come to ask. They wanted to personally witness this legendary battle. One was a 17-year-old youth. One was a mysterious youth. One was an awakened soul realm expert. The other was a high-ranking elder. Two people from completely different worlds, in front of everyone's eyes. They were going to have an unbelievable battle. Both sides were already prepared. What would be the result? This mysterious youth, would he be able to resist Luo Yuanshan's suppression, and once again make a miraculous comeback? The Central Plaza had a diameter of around 200 meters. All of the onlookers were blocked outside, leaving only Chu Tianhe and Luo Yuanshan. They were separated by 100 meters, staring at each other from a distance. They were already prepared. Luo Yuanshan asked in a clear voice, "Do you want to go first, or should I? I don't have any problems, other than being righteous, brave and fearless, loving of peace, respecting the old, and loving the young. I can't change that." Chu Tian shrugged his shoulders. "So you are my senior, so please go first." Luo Yuanshan was not polite. He calmly took out the talisman. Holding it between his two fingers, he closed his eyes. His body was surrounded by a strong wind. A red spirit energy fluctuation suddenly spread in all directions. Ho! A red lion image suddenly appeared behind Luo Yuanshan. The raging flame lion source spirit. Luo Yuanshan's source spirit was inclined towards the fire attribute. This meant that when he used a fire attribute talisman technique, it would have a certain degree of power increase. The talisman was like a sponge, crazily absorbing the surrounding spirit energy. The lines on it gradually lit up with a red glow. The energy fluctuations became stronger and stronger, finally reaching a critical point. Chi! A burning hot aura surged out. The entire talisman spontaneously combusted. Exploding flame curse. Luo Yuanshan wildly roared, "Go!" The self-combusting talisman released a dazzling flame. A dense fireball appeared in his hand. It quickly rotated. It quickly expanded from the size of fist to the size of a wash basin. It finally expanded to the size of a water tank. The high-speed rotation stirred the surrounding air, even the people standing far away. At this moment, he could also feel the scorching heat. Luo Yuanshan's 10 fingers continued to release spirit energy, forming 2 source energy arrays, stabilizing the incomparably large fireball, slowly raising it above his head. At this moment, the fireball's power was at its strongest. It was as if a small sun was being raised, and it was emitting a blinding light. Everyone's expression changed. An awakened soul realm, symbol master strength, was terrifying. "Do you see that? You overestimate yourself." Luo Yuanshan wildly laughed. "This is the strength of an awakened soul realm cultivator. What do you have to compete with me?" Suddenly, a thought flashed through Luo Yuanshan's mind. Due to the fact that Chu Tian had defeated Li Changyun, Nangong Yi already had a reason to protect him. Even if his talisman techniques were more powerful than Chu Tian's, he still might not be able to eliminate him. Why not beat him at his own game and kill him when he least expected it? This person must die, even if he had to resort to any means. "Do you think you're qualified to challenge me?" Luo Yuanshan fiercely threw the fireball at Chu Tian. "You don't need to embarrass yourself. Go die now." This scene stunned everyone. This was clearly a competition of talisman techniques. Luo Yuanshan disregarded the competition rules and used talisman techniques to attack Chu Tian, a body refinement realm cultivator. How could he block an awakened soul realm symbol technique attack? Luo Yuanshan was deliberately trying to kill Chu Tian. This was simply murder. Moreover, it was an incomparably despicable sneak attack to kill someone. A dignified awakened soul realm cultivator. Sneak attacking a body refinement cultivator. This is bad. Nangong Yi and Zhang Liqing turned pale with fright. Nangong Yi's source spirit was the volcano source spirit. Its destructive power was incomparably shocking. It could threaten people several levels higher than him. But the volcano source spirit's power-gathering speed was slow. It could not deal with this kind of sudden attack. Zhang Liqing released his blue spirit energy, turning into a majestic eagle. With an extremely fast speed, he soared into the sky, swooping down towards the fireball, forcibly crushing it. Hong! The moment the fireball was crushed, it exploded, a terrifying flame shockwave, mightily submerged everything. Chu Tian faced the surging flames, his two sword-like eyebrows suddenly twisted together. He suddenly clenched his fists. His body emitted a faint glow, both palms heavily pushed forward. In the next second, the flame shockwave completely submerged him. No! Meng Yingying cried out in fear. Chu Tian. Meng Qingwu's face was pale. Her beautiful eyes were like two round balls. Nangong Yun angrily stamped her foot. A phoenix cry filled the 9 heavens. She soared into the sky. A pair of phoenix wings appeared on her back. With a sudden flap, she was like a meteor, brazenly attacking. Despicable old dog. I will definitely kill you. Nangong Yun's fists were like a violent storm. Each fist contained an ancient and tyrannical strength. It was like an incomparably strong fire meteor. Luo Yuanshan's face changed. The raging flame lion roared, suddenly punching forward. Hong! The two of them both retreated a few steps. Luo Yuanshan revealed a shocked expression. Blocking Nangong Yun's punches, he felt his blood boil, a trivial peak 9th body refinement layer, actually able to fight against an awakened soul cultivator. This was not just a normal level, but an entire realm. This was the power of a god-level source spirit. It really was very terrifying. Nangong Yun was not an awakened soul cultivator, but she could fight against an awakened soul cultivator. Nangong knit his brows. Yun stop. Nangong knew his daughter's strength. Her direct, destructive power was not inferior to a first awakened soul layer. It even slightly surpassed it. However, she was still in the body refinement realm. Her spirit energy could not compare to an awakened soul cultivator. A short burst was fine, but if she could not kill the opponent, then after a long time, her spirit energy supply would weaken and she would be at a disadvantage. Nangong Yun's phoenix eyes widened. You also saw it. This bastard sneak attacked Chu Tian. Luo Yuanshan coldly said. He was going to lose anyway. I'm just sending him to his death ahead of time. You're going to die. I'll send you on your way. Nangong shouted. Chu Tian is fine. Lightning flashed in the sky. Thunder shook the earth, only to see the pattering of rain falling down. At the center of the terrifying fireball explosion, there was an incomparably large pit. The surroundings were filled with scattered flames. Cuckoo! Chu Tian climbed out of the pit with his face covered in soot. His clothes were burnt black, and his handsome face had also turned black. Only his eyes were still black and white, bright like the morning stars. He laughed. On his black face, he revealed his snow-white teeth. I didn't see it before. It turns out you care about me this much. It can't be. You didn't die. Your life force is too damn strong. Nangong Yin let out a sigh of relief, patting her chest to calm herself down. You scare me to death. It doesn't matter if you die, but if you die like this, who am I going to ask for my salary from now on? Fuck, she really thought too highly of herself. Luo Yuanshan's sudden sneak attack. It was indeed very dangerous, but at the crucial moment, Zhang Liqing tore the fireball apart, causing it to explode ahead of time. Chu Tian had practiced the Starlight Immortal Body. His defense had been greatly increased, so he was able to block the strong shockwave. Although he was injured, it was not life-threatening. Nangong Yi's voice became ice-cold. Elder Luo is a member of the Supervisor's Palace. This kind of behavior is despicable. From what I see, there is no need for this competition to continue. The onlookers all nodded. One by one, they began to discuss. That's right. Luo Yuanshan really was a despicable person. Since these fellows were all despicable people, what was the point of competing? Chu Tian was innocent. No one would believe those slanderous words. Sir Mayor, this won't do. Chu Tian suddenly interrupted. This old dog has caused me so much trouble. If I don't get back at him, it's not my style. Nangong, he finally found a way to step down, but this brat did not appreciate it. He simply could not understand. You still want to compete? Is there something wrong with your brain? Wasn't this nonsense? Compete. Of course they would compete. 500,000 in cash, a factory worth $1 million. If these cooked ducks flew away, would you have to pay me back? Chu Tian stared at Luo Yuanshan. You used a talisman technique to attack me once. I'll use a talisman technique to attack you once. You won't object, right? Luo Yuanshan gave a disdainful smile. With just you? What a joke. I want to see what methods you have to hurt me. Then open your eyes wide and watch. Chu Tian held a talisman. His hands glowed with spirit energy. Most of his spirit energy was poured into the talisman. Zzz. The talisman was gradually activated. Arcs of electricity were released. Everyone looked at each other in amazement. Could it be a thunder-attributed talisman? Chu Tian suddenly waved his hand. The talisman was released in the air. It released a purple-red lightning. With an unbelievable speed, it suddenly struck at Luo Yuanshan. Was it really a thunder-attributed talisman? This kind of rare attribute talisman, there were not many people in Central State that could make it. No one thought that Chu Tian would take out this kind of talisman. The lightning struck Luo Yuanshan. Ha 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 ha. Luo Yuanshan's entire body flashed with lightning. No matter how the lightning spread, it could not penetrate his protective spirit energy. A rare attribute talisman. How strong of an attack would it be? This kind of power is not even comparable to an ordinary level 1 talisman. Using such a low-level talisman technique, you want to defeat me? Chu Tian stood in place without moving. He began to count down, 10, 9, 8. Luo Yuanshan was bewildered. He was surprised to find that the surrounding arcs of electricity did not disperse. The arcs were interweaving, faintly forming a profound rune. What was going on? Although the power was not strong, this phenomenon was really strange. 3, 2, 1. Chu Tian's countdown was complete. Wah! What is that? Look at the sky. The crowd burst into exclamations. Luo Yuanshan looked up. A bald old face was reflected in the light, blue and white. He did not know when, but between the clouds above Luo Yuanshan's head, a large amount of lightning had gathered. Natural thunder and lightning. The power of heavenly thunder. Its power was unfathomable. Luo Yuanshan felt a terrifying power lock onto him. A feeling of fear from the depths of his soul instantly enveloped Luo Yuanshan's body. No. Luo Yuanshan reacted. Want to escape? It was too late. A bolt of lightning finished brewing. It fell from the sky, piercing through heaven and earth, directly bombarding the square, very accurately striking Luo Yuanshan's body. That protective spirit energy was like paper, almost unable to withstand a single blow. Boom, boom, boom. The heavenly thunder split the earth. Luo Yuanshan's body was split into pieces on the spot. Nangong revealed a look of horror. Luo Yuanshan was killed by a bolt of lightning. He was actually killed by lightning. Chu Tian looked at the ground full of charred corpses, coldly saying, Lightning Guiding Talisman is a level 1 talisman. By itself, it is not strong, but it can attract a bolt of heavenly thunder. I had no intention of killing you. You only have yourself to blame. Yi Xiong and Du Jintian were almost paralyzed with fear. Chu Tian could actually summon heavenly thunder. How is this possible? What kind of power was heavenly thunder? Even a peak awakened soul cultivator would not be able to freely control it, but Chu Tian had done it. He had summoned heavenly thunder, directly killing Luo Yuanshan. Chu Tian's eyes swept across the crowd. If anyone dares to provoke me, I will bury several dozen lightning guiding talismans in their homes, letting them have a taste of heavenly thunder. This idiots today will be your group of idiots tomorrow. Overbearing, crazy, and scrupulous threats. Everyone felt their hairs stand on end, not to mention several dozen bolts of heavenly thunder. Even one bolt was not enough for them to endure. Actually, Chu Tian was just scaring them. The level 1 lightning guiding talisman was amazing, but it still had many limitations. It could only be used in a thunderstorm, and it could only attract one bolt of lightning. The location of the lightning was fixed. Actually, if Luo Yuanshan reacted a bit faster, he would have left the area of the lightning guiding talisman. Then he would not have been struck to death. How could these people think so much? Now they were all scared silly. Chapter 58. If it was said that Chu Tian defeating Li Chang Yin only gave people a deep shock, that level 1 talisman killing an awakened soul realm cultivator was enough to make people's hair stand on end. Was he still human? He was simply a terrifying monster. A trivial body refinement realm cultivator, a trivial level 1 talisman, could actually control the thunder and create such a shocking effect. Under the shroud of heaven's might, everyone present felt fear from the bottom of their hearts. Even Nangong Yi, who had the highest cultivation base, could not help but slightly tremble. From the depths of his soul, he felt a chill. If he was the target of the heavenly thunder, it would be hard for him to escape death on the spot. Luo Yuanshan was dead. A Central State law enforcement elder had died just like that. The moment before the god of death arrived, Luo Yuanshan must have been filled with regret. For an ordinary family junior, for a little bit of benefit, he had given up his life. Yi Xiong's expression was very complicated. He was both frightened and angry. Although he had made the highest estimate, although he was afraid of Chu Tian, he did not hesitate to unite the 4 families and use their greatest strength and resources to deal with him. In the end, he never would have thought. He had underestimated Chu Tian too much. Du Jintian's face was even paler, his face filled with despair, his eyes filled with defeat. He had already realized he had done a very stupid thing. His family's million gold coin factory, he had actually lost it. Chu Tian impatiently said, "Shouldn't the mayor say a few words?" Nangong, he seemed to wake up from a dream. He helplessly gave a bitter smile. There is no need to talk about the result. In terms of the might of the talisman technique, Chu Tian won without a doubt. The crowd was boiling with excitement. Everyone finally recovered from their shock and fear. I wasn't just dreaming, right? Why would the heavenly thunder strike the square? That's right, that Central State awakened soul expert was actually killed by it. He deserved it. This is called retribution. Who told him to come to South Sky City and slander South Sky City's geniuses? That's right. Chu Tian really is a genius that only appears once in 1,000 years. This time our South Sky City will be famous. The way Chu Tian defeated Li Changyun was too technical, and most people couldn't understand it. This time's talisman technique competition was a direct result. Even an idiot could tell that the might of Chu Tian's lightning summoning talisman was 10 times stronger than Li Changyun's explosive talisman. It was clear at a glance. Was there a comparison? Those idiots who accused Chu Tian of stealing the technique were truly blind. In the entire kingdom, who else could display the might of a level 1 talisman to such an extent? Only Chu Tian. Although such a super genius was not well known at the moment, sooner or later he would enter the main city, or even the royal city, and become a top figure in this kingdom. Would he steal the technology? This was pure, shameless slander. Those who had been jealous of Chu Tian had a complete change of heart at this moment. Their jealousy had completely disappeared, leaving only deep admiration and admiration. Because a beggar would only be jealous of a beggar who was richer than them, they would never be jealous of a billionaire. The two were not even in the same world. Meng Yingying and Meng Qingwu's mood was also very complicated. The two of them were secretly disappointed. It wasn't that Chu Tian wasn't strong. It was that he was too strong, too outstanding. Zhang Liqing's old face was flushed red with excitement. His devout eyes were like a pilgrim seeing a god. What kind of godly technique is this? If this old man could learn even 1% of Chu Tian's talisman techniques, I would have no regrets in this life. Chu Tian took 2 deep breaths. 2 chances are over. There is still one more chance. Whether it is a raise, refining, or something else, no matter what it is, as long as you can beat me, my promise is still valid. Yi Xiong's face was gloomy and scary. He really couldn't think of a way to deal with Chu Tian. Chu Yi's face was filled with horror. How could Chu Tian change so much? Other than the appearance, it was like he was a completely different person. Could it be that he was a monster wearing Chu Tian's skin? This person was too terrifying. If he was alive, once he returned to the Chu family, he would be placed in an important position. At that time, he would be in big trouble. Even his family would be implicated. Chu Tian had to die. This person could not be allowed to return to Central State alive. Although Chu Tian's achievements in various fields were amazing, his cultivation was still too weak. He was first injured by Luo Yuanshan's explosive flame talisman. Then he used up half of his spirit energy on the lightning guiding talisman. He was currently very weak. Third round. Let me go. I want to compete with you. The one speaking was Chu Yi. Li Changyun, representing the Ye family, defeated. Luo Yuanshan, representing the Luo family, defeated. Two awakened soul master-level characters were defeated. How could Chu Yi dare to challenge Chu Tian? Who would have thought that Chu Yi's right hand would pull out a 3-foot-long sword from his waist? Holding in his hand, the blue sword tip pointed at Chu Tian, angrily roaring, "If you are a man, then accept my challenge." This kind of words can even come out of your mouth. Nan Gongyun said with a disgusted face, "I have never seen such a shameless person before." Meng Qingwu also walked out. "It was you who kept saying that Chu Tian's technique was stolen. Chu Tian also gave you 3 chances to prove yourself. First you lost in alchemy, then you lost in talismans. Now you want to compete in martial arts? Let me ask, what does martial arts have to do with the source energy pot technique? Doing this, don't you think it's too much?" Meng Yingying fiercely rebuked, "Bastard, aren't you just bullying Chu Tian's cultivation base, not as high as yours? Moreover, Chu Tian's spirit energy is very strong, and he is already injured. This is a sneak attack. What kind of challenge is this?" "That's right. I never thought that the dignified Chu family's child would be this shameless." The surrounding crowd began to denounce him. The public opinion completely changed sides. Chu Yi's despicable way of doing things made people feel disdain. You clearly used the excuse of Chu Tian's betrayal to steal the clan's secret. Now, the crime of betrayal was not established. He could not compete with the other side, so he used the most direct method to suppress him. Wasn't this a joke? This competition had already reached this point. There was no longer any meaning to it. Yi Xiong walked out and said, "Chu Tian promised to accept any kind of challenge. Alchemy and talismans are one field. Could it be that martial arts and martial arts are not another field?" The Chu family's young master wants to ask Chu Tian for advice on martial arts. It is fair and square. Why can't it be done? It was impossible to completely ruin Chu Tian's reputation. This matter had already developed beyond his control. Death. As long as he died, nothing else was important. If this kind of rare talent grew up, the consequences would be unimaginable. Yi Xiong wanted to personally make a move, but his identity was unreasonable. If he personally made a move, Nangong, you would not sit idly by. The only person who had a chance to kill Chu Tian was Chu Yi. Although Chu Yi was not the most outstanding talent of the Central State Chu family, he could still be ranked in the top 10. He had already awakened a trace of his source spirit, not to mention the fact that he cultivated the soul sword secret art. This soul sword secret art was said to be a remnant of an ancient cultivation technique. It was a great treasure of Central State City. It was the foundation of the Chu family. Chu Yi's soul sword secret art had already reached the small success realm, so his battle strength was not small. Chu Yi continued to provoke him with his sword. "What? Now that things have reached this point, are you afraid?" Chu Tian gave a disdainful sneer. "You and I are from the same generation. If you dare challenge me, why would I be afraid? Bring it on. Let me see the martial arts of the Chu family. Just what is so special about it?" He really accepted the challenge. "As you wish." Chu Yi gave a fiendish smile. His body released a strong, killing intent. He suddenly pointed his sword at the sky. He looked up and roared, "Sword!" At this moment, Chu Yi suddenly released an incomparably sharp strength. This strength was sharper than a blade, stronger than a wave. The white spirit energy soared into the sky. It actually formed the shape of a blue treasure sword. Sword Source Spirit. The Chu family was a famous sword-cultivating family. Most of the family members had a sword source spirit. The sword source spirit was very strong, especially when combined with the Chu family's soul sword secret art. It was enough to sweep away cultivators of the same level. Of course, although it was a sword source spirit, everyone was different. Chu Yi had not truly entered the awakened soul realm. His source spirit had not completely awakened. He could only vaguely see a blue sword shadow. Blue represented wind. It was a wind-attributed source spirit. Wind's specialty was its sharpness and speed. Soul Sword's secret art, whirlwind slash. Chu Yi's lips curled into a cold smile. The sword source spirit fused with the sword in his hand. It suddenly released countless blue sword chi. It turned into a whirlwind of sword chi that wrapped around the sword blade. So strong. This is the Chu family's sword art. Once Chu Yi made this move, everyone looked at each other in amazement. His source spirit fused with the sword, turning the sword chi into a whirlwind. It could attack the enemy. It could defend itself. It was invulnerable. The Chu family swordsmen, their reputation was well-deserved. Could Chu Tian block this kind of attack? A few days ago, at the summit, Chu Tian only had the strength of a 6-body refinement layer, although he had displayed a strong battle strength. In front of an expert like Chu Yi, he could not even withstand a single blow. Chu Tian slightly narrowed his eyes. Without any movement, he released his spirit energy, quietly covering his body. Everyone was surprised to find that Chu Tian's body was gradually glowing. It did not have the warmth of the sun, nor the coldness of the moonlight. It was like a starry sky, warm and dense, deep and mysterious. Not long after it covered his entire body. It was like a thin layer of protective film. It was like a layer of starlight was woven into his clothes. It's the starlight immortal body. Meng Qingwu, Nan Gongyun, and the others all recognized it. Could it be Chu Tian wanted to use the starlight immortal body to resist the Chu family sword art? He had only practiced the starlight immortal body for a few days. He hadn't even reached the small success realm. Chu Yi's soul sword secret art had been bitterly cultivated for many years, combined with his peak 9th body refinement layer cultivation, as well as his family's inherited sword source spirit. It could break through any defensive cultivation technique. Could he block it? Remember, the essence of the starlight immortal body is nurturing, not fighting. Chu Tian was covered in starlight. He was like a god. Endless. Starlight is inexhaustible, no matter how strong the opponent's attack is. Move as you wish. Move as you wish. No matter how sudden the attack is, you will instantly form the strongest defense. He was actually lecturing. He did not place Chu Yi in his eyes at all. While Chu Tian was speaking, the wound from Luo Yuanshan's sneak attack was healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. The starlight immortal body was healing his wound. Chu Yi's anger was suppressed to the extreme. You want to humiliate me? Die. The arc-shaped sword chi was like a cyclone. The dust on the ground was instantly lifted up by an invisible force. In the end, it transformed into an incomparably huge arc-shaped sword chi. With the power of a whirlwind, it suddenly chopped toward Chu Tian. The might of this sword, an awakened soul cultivator's protective spirit energy, was hard to block. Not to mention, Chu Tian was a body refinement cultivator. Facing this strong attack, Chu Tian did not dodge or retreat. Both his arms suddenly pushed forward. He actually used his bare hands to grab the incomparably sharp sword chi. CSI. Everyone was scared silly. Using his bare hands to grab the sword chi? Wasn't this seeking death? The moment Chu Tian's hands grabbed the sword chi, the starlight in his body began to gather in his hands. His palms became crystal clear. It was like they were covered in a layer of light. The blue starlight was like dye. It instantly dyed the white sword chi, turning the entire sword chi blue and white. Ha! Just like breaking a piece of glass. The entire sword chi shattered in an instant, turning into millions of specks of starlight, drifting away with the wind in the air. Don't move. Just use your intent. The intent moves the body to defend. The mind defends. Chu Tian's body was still covered in light. He calmly explained, "The main point of the starlight defense is to break down, not to forcefully resist. It is to turn external forces invisible." Meng Qingwu, Meng Yingying, Nangong Yun, and the others all began to ponder. This was the might of the starlight immortal body. Chapter 59. Even if it was an awakened soul realm cultivator, it was still a flesh and blood body, not to mention a body refinement realm cultivator. Chu Yi's sword was not a normal sword. It was supported by the sword source spirit's power. The sword chi that came out was like a gale, fast as lightning. It could even cut through gold and iron. Could it be that Chu Tian's body was even harder than steel? Nangong, he could see that Chu Tian cultivated a top-notch defensive cultivation technique. The spirit energy in his body did not need to be controlled. As long as it was activated, the spirit energy could be freely transformed, turning into a protective starlight at any time, counteracting external damage. With this shocking cultivation technique, he did not need to move his body. He only needed to move his mind. The mind could move his body. It was invulnerable. Before his spirit energy was completely exhausted, the starlight would always be there, so he could look down on people of the same level. It was a top-grade cultivation technique that could defend against sneak attacks. It was a top-grade cultivation technique. Chu Yi's eyes turned red. As expected, this cultivation technique is not inferior to a complete ancient cultivation technique. You had a fortuitous encounter and obtained an ancient inheritance. These words were not right. It was not an ancient inheritance. It was inheritance from the future. I admit that I underestimated you. With this cultivation technique, you indeed have the qualifications to fight me. Chu Yi's breathing gradually became heavy, his eyes filled with jealousy. But you are not my opponent. I only used 30 to 40% of my strength. If I used my full strength, you would have died without a doubt. Such a strong sword. Only 30 to 40% of his strength. Chu Yi had been taught by several awakened soul cultivators since he was young, using the best materials to build his foundation, practicing the most authentic cultivation technique, using the best resources to increase his strength. A person trained like this, how could he be weak? Chu Tian grinned. Hearing you say this makes me feel relieved. Actually, I only used 10% of my defensive strength. Stubborn duck. Don't be stubborn. Chu Yi's face was filled with greed. Hand over everything and cripple your own cultivation. I won't kill you. Chu Tian used cheap words to provoke him. That's too embarrassing. If you want to kill me, then kill me. Don't hold it in. What if you get sick from holding it in? Come, I beg you to kill me. You asked for it. Chu Yi's eyes turned red again. He was so angry that he was about to explode. He roared towards the sky. Sword. An indistinct shadow of a giant cyan sword appeared behind him, and a vast and powerful aura came head-on, causing Chu Tian to feel a lot of pressure. Indeed, this person had some ability. This was the difference between a big city and a small city, or the difference between having an advantage in resources and not having an advantage in resources. Compared to cultivators from small cities, large cities had the advantage of resources and connections. Thus, the quality of the cultivators they cultivated was usually higher than that of small cities. Chu Yi cannot compare to Nangong Yan. Probably not much different from Xiong Tianyan. Although Chu Yi did not use his full strength, the spirit energy Chu Tian displayed was already at the 9th body refinement layer. That strange and tyrannical defensive cultivation technique could even block the Chu family sword art. It would be best if he could obtain the ancient inheritance, but he also had to prepare for the worst. At the very least, he had to kill Chu Tian, lest he left behind a great disaster. Chu, he had a strong intuition. If he couldn't kill him this time, then he wouldn't have another chance. Soul Sword's secret art. His sword source spirit suddenly lit up. Chu, he continuously sent out dozens of sword chi. With an unbelievable speed, he released a small sword chi storm style. Fast. Too fast. Chu Tian opened his hyper-focus state and instantly dodging most of the sword chi, but there were still 3 or 4 that landed on his body. starlight body protection. Each sword chi that landed on him immediately shattered into countless starlights. So close, everyone broke out in a cold sweat. If Chu Tian did not cultivate the starlight immortal body, even if these sword chi did not kill him, it would still be enough to heavily injure him. The starlight immortal body could offset the attack, but also consumed a large amount of spirit energy. Chu Tian was not in his peak state from the start, not to mention that he was at the peak 8th body refinement layer. His spirit energy could not compare to the peak 9th body refinement layer Chu E. Ha ha ha, you're only SOSO. I still haven't used my finishing move. It's too easy for me to kill you. It's as easy as turning my hand. Chu E wildly laughed while fiercely attacking. Chu Tian was clearly at a disadvantage. Have a taste of this move of mine. Soul Sword's secret art. Whirlwind scattered clouds. The sword source spirit released a strong cyan glow. The entire source spirit began to disintegrate. Countless cyan sword glows were released from the disintegration process, forming a tornado around Chu-yi. Kill! Chu-yi stood in the center of the tornado, brazenly slamming into Chu Tian. The high-speed revolving sword chi was like a meat grinder, crazily tearing apart the starlight on Chu Tian's body. The starlight quickly dimmed at a speed visible to the naked eye. Chu Tian's starlight protection had already been weakened to the extreme. Your defense really does have some skill. The Soul Sword secret art is the strongest attack cultivation technique in Central State. Against me, you have no chance of winning. I'll give you one last chance. Surrender or die. Why did this grandson speak so much nonsense? Have you said enough yet? Chu Tian was already very impatient. He suddenly stopped dodging like a javelin. He stood straight on the ground. This little bit of strength. You have a nerve to say you want to kill me? Do you really think you're an expert? Are you proud of the Chu family's cultivation technique? Do you think the Chu family's cultivation technique is the strongest attack cultivation technique in Central State? Actually, in my eyes, you're not even worth a fart. Your Chu family sword art can't even compare to a monkey's stick. You think I can't kill you? Chu-yi was filled with anger. If it wasn't for his cultivation technique, Chu-yi would have already killed him. Now that he had been provoked again and again, his patience had finally reached its limit. Chu-yi held his sword with both hands. The blade was covered in a layer of dark red energy. It was like a wave of fire. To kill you, a single slash is enough. Such a strong sword chi. Such a terrifying aura, as if it could cut through all living things. Chu Tian ignored the strong sword chi. His eyes flashed with a sharp light. Each word was like a gold nugget falling to the ground. He gave a sonorous laugh and said, "Ha ha, ha, ha. This is your so-called unique skill? Good. I'll give you a chance. Father will stand here. I'll let you slash me." Everyone present was scared out of their wits. Stand here and let him slash you? What kind of arrogance was this? As Chu Tian spoke, the starlight suddenly rose, once again enveloping his body. At this moment, Chu-yi had already charged forward with his sword. A great pressure enveloped Chu Tian's body. This move again? Chu-yi sneered in his heart. After a series of tests, Chu-yi had grasped the strength of the starlight body protection. A swordsman, with sincerity. This was the profound meaning of the Soul Sword's secret art. Chu-yi had absolute confidence. He could definitely split it in one slash. Then, with the influence of his faith, the might of this slash would increase several times. Over the years, the number of geniuses he had fought with was not small. Who could block this slash while being at the same level and still be able to retreat? What kind of thing did Chu Tian count for? Just a trivial 8th body refinement layer. Die, die. Chu-yi released all his strength. The moment that the red sword glow was about to reach him, Chu Tian's starlight suddenly condensed. It was like a layer of crystal clear glass, very evenly covering the surface of his body. Chu Tian roared, scram. The sword chi surged out. The ground began to crack. A crisp sound rang out. The treasure sword cracked. Chu-yi was sent flying 10 meters away by the terrifying impact. The sword broke? The sword's momentum was shocking, but it did not take Chu Tian's life. Rather, it broke the sword. Meng Qing Wu, Meng Yingying, Nangong Yun, Xiong Tianyan, and Zhang Liqing. They all revealed excited expressions. This was the might of the starlight immortal body? What kind of abnormal defense was this? Although they already knew that the cultivation technique that Chu Tian taught them was not weak, they never would have thought that it would be this strong. Chu Tian let out a long sigh. The Chu family sword art is only SOSO. The layer of crystal-like starlight that had solidified on the surface of his body gradually dissipated. Speaking of this, he really had to thank Chu Yi. If it wasn't for his help, Chu Tian would not have been able to grasp the glass immortal body so quickly. The current Chu Tian, although he had not reached the small success stage, he was not far from it. The remnant sword chi aura in the surroundings had all dissipated. Chu Tian, who was enveloped in starlight, looked like a powerful god. It made Chu Yi feel despair. Lost. He lost again. Chu Yi was at the peak 9th body refinement layer, adding the strength of the Chu family's soul sword secret art. He still could not beat an injured Chu Tian. Chu Yi's full-strength slash had landed on Chu Tian's body, but it had been broken by Chu Tian's sword. The disparity in strength between the two sides was too large. It was almost unimaginable. Chu Tian crossed his hand behind his back and coldly said, "The 3 chances have passed. What else do you have to say?" Chu Yi flew into a rage out of shame. "Go die." Chu Yi suddenly jumped up, throwing 4 to 5 talismans. Each talisman turned into a wind blade, fireball, poison mist. All of them flew towards Chu Tian's body. Chu Yi took this chance to pull out a dagger. This dagger was dark green. It was clearly a weapon that had been tempered in poison. It was like a sinister snake, fiercely stabbing towards Chu Tian's chest. Countless sword chi, all gathered together, condensing into the long sword. A sword chi pierced out, like a white rainbow piercing through the sun. Chu Tian felt a strong sense of crisis. This sword had a strong killing power. The short duration of the glass immortal body's defense had consumed all of Chu Tian's spirit energy. Chu Tian already had no way to form that kind of defense. If this attack succeeded, Chu Tian would be in danger. Everyone began to curse. Chu Yi's method was despicable. He could not fight Chu Tian head-on, so he had to use this kind of despicable method. Too slow. Chu Tian opened his mind's eye, understanding the distribution of spirit energy in Chu Yi's body. His 2 claws were like iron pincers, grabbing onto Chu Yi's arm, pressing down on the weakest point of his spirit energy. His 10 fingers released spirit energy, sealing the meridians in his arm, then forcefully twisted. Kacha! Chu Yi's right hand was directly broken. He issued a pitiful cry. "You win. You win. I admit defeat." Chu Tian coldly said, "Don't you think it's too late to admit defeat now? I am the 4th elder's son. You dare kill me?" Chu Tian grabbed the dark green dagger, directly stabbing it into Chu Yi's chest. Chu Yi's eyes opened wide, falling to the ground. Twitching a few times, he no longer moved. Dead. Chapter 60. The entire space was quiet to the extreme. Countless eyes were focused on Chu Tian. Everything between heaven and earth disappeared, leaving behind this miraculous youth. Li Changyan was half crippled and expelled. Luo Yuanshan was struck to death by heavenly thunder. Chu Yi was killed by Chu Tian on the spot. 3 battles, 3 wins. The victory was clean, there was no suspense, and the way he won was unexpected. In every competition, no one was optimistic about Chu Tian. Every time, the ending was unbelievable. Chu Tian was crazy, crazy to the end. No one could break it. No one could solve it. How many people in this world could do this? This was a true young genius. This was a true hot-blooded man. For a person to be crazy to this degree, it was no longer arrogant. This was self-confidence, an incomparably strong self-confidence. Why would a 9 heavens god need to be humble to an ant? Yi Xiong had caused a storm in the city. He wanted to use the power of the city's public opinion to thoroughly trample Chu Tian into hell, to forever lose his reputation. to forever be cursed by tens of thousands of people. Who would have thought that he would lift a large stone and smash it on his own foot? Now, everyone knew the true, despicable face of the Ye family. Yi Xiong was facing a complete loss of his reputation. Nangong, he could not contain the excitement in his heart. In front of everyone, he announced, Chu Tian is South Sky City's genius. Who would dare say that Chu Tian is incompetent? Who would dare say that Chu Tian was born lowly? Who would dare slander Chu Tian? Chu Tian, Chu Tian. Those who slander Chu Tian, they deserve this kind of ending. Everyone seemed to be infected by this heroic spirit. They all began to shout out. Their shouts were like a tsunami. Nangong, he let out a large breath of resentment. He glared at the people in front of him and said, What happened to you? Weren't you all clamoring to cut Chu Tian into 1,000 pieces? Now what else do you have to say? Finished. Completely finished. Yet another crushing defeat. Du Jintian's expression was extremely awkward. He thought carefully for a few minutes, and, as if he had made an important decision, he immediately stood up from the crowd. Seeing him walk out, Chu Tian smiled coldly and asked, Could it be that Patriarch Du Jintian is unconvinced and wishes to challenge again? Stop joking. Wasn't the lesson from the past tragic enough? One of them had his reputation ruined, his cultivation crippled, and he was banished from the city. The other was killed on the spot, and not even a complete corpse could be put together. The last one even had an overwhelming advantage, but was completely counterattacked by Chu Tian and died with a grievance. Was such a painful lesson not enough? Was it going to happen again? Moreover, the 3 challenges had already ended. What was the point of defeating Chu Tian now? With his own strength, Chu Tian had forcefully turned the tide and used an overwhelming method to launch a fierce counterattack. Du Jintian felt as if his face was being slapped repeatedly. Now it was almost swollen like a pig's head. His reputation was swept to the ground. He had lost all his face. Heavy losses. He had the image of a villain who framed a genius. If he had known earlier, Du Jintian would not have stepped into these muddy waters, even if he was beaten to death. Young Master Chu, the whole thing was a misunderstanding. Du Jintian was the head of a family, so he had to be thick-skinned. The Du family was raised by himself. Not like Yi Xiong, who had the support of the Central State headquarters. He couldn't fight anymore. He really couldn't fight like this anymore. Du Jintian endured the pain and took out a contract. Young Master Chu is a genius. How could he be a thief? It was me who was bewitched by some people's evil words and spread false rumors. I had eyes but failed to see and offended you. To express my apology, the Du family's mold printing factory contract, I asked young Master Chu to accept it. This contract worth 1,000,000 gold coins was handed over to someone else on a silver platter. This was simply cutting off his own flesh. Du Jintian had a sinister face 2 days ago, discussing with Yi Xiong how to get rid of Chu Tian. Now his face changed, and he gave in to Chu Tian on the spot. This was giving in to the strong. He was also forced to do so. Du family head's memory isn't very good. This factory was originally won by me, so it was originally mine. You fucking took my things and came to apologize to me. Who in this world apologizes like this? This, Du Jintian's face was filled with embarrassment. You almost killed me in the arena of the summit. Don't tell me Lord Du has forgotten about this? Chu Tian snorted and said, According to my temper, if someone wants me dead, I won't let them live. Let's talk it out. Du Jintian wiped his sweat. This Du will personally clarify the facts to the media and make up for the loss of young Master Chu's reputation. I will also prepare a generous gift to apologize to Miracle Commerce. What do you think? Not enough. This Du is willing to give up all of his personal property to make up for his mistake. This Du Jintian had some courage. Chu Tian couldn't help but look at him in a different light. It was better to have one less enemy than one more enemy. Not to mention, he could still take advantage of it. All right, since you're sincerely apologizing, I won't argue with you. But if I find out that you've done anything out of line, then don't blame me for not giving you face. Du Jintian nodded repeatedly. I don't dare. No matter what, The Du family was still a large family in Tiannan City, but now he was acting like a grandson. Yi Xiong couldn't bear it anymore and said, Du Zhenqian, do you still want face? The Du family is a small family. It's not as powerful as the Ye family. Du Zhenqian let out a long sigh and coldly glanced at Yi Xiong. Even though he hated Chu Tian, if it wasn't for this guy's instigation, he would not have done what he did today. Today, the Du family suffered heavy losses, and it was all because of this idiot. I hope you rein in your horse at the edge of the cliff and stop doing stupid things. The Ye family was isolated and helpless. Let's go. Yi Xiong angrily rolled up his sleeves and left. The entire city was in an uproar, and the curtains finally fell on this farce. Yi Xiong combined the power of 3 families, but not only were they unable to do anything to Chu Tian, but they also allowed Chu Tian's reputation to rise to another level, and even allowed Chu Tian to fish up a large amount of benefits. Li Chongyun abdicated. The president of the Alchemist Guild was most likely Xiong Tianyan. Chu Tian earned a total of 500,000 gold coins, harvested an entire factory, and even received all of Du Zhentian's wealth. Du Zhentian hurriedly said his goodbyes. It was most likely to be an emergency transfer of his valuables. How could Chu Tian, given the time? Du Zhentian had just stepped back and hadn't even moved a few treasures when Chu Tian brought Nan Gongyun and Zhang Liqing and immediately came to confiscate his house. There was no other way. He could only give up. Chu Tian sent Meng Yingying, Meng Qingwu, Nan Gongyun, and Xiong Tianyan out. Search the large houses for me. As long as you find anything valuable, even if it's a urinal, bring it out for me. The few of them were like they were injected with chicken blood, and impatiently rushed in to start a large search. Du Zhentian's house was turned upside down. Finally, just the valuable crystals, beast cores, medicines, and pills. The total value reached hundreds of thousands of gold coins. There were several crystal cards with gold coins, and the total cash reserves reached hundreds of thousands. These were all assets that could be easily converted into cash, and if calculated, it would be around 1 million gold coins. What kind of concept was 1 million gold coins? Even if Nanyun Commerce sold everything, they might not be able to sell it for this much money. In addition, there were large amounts of rare treasures, luxury goods, and so on. The value was hard to estimate, but it was definitely not low. Xiong Tianyan walked out with a face full of excitement. 3 lives demonic insect. 3 lives demonic insect. We actually found more than 203 lives demonic insects. 3 lives demonic insect wasn't the main ingredient for refining the qi refining pill. This kind of medicine was very rare. There weren't many of them in South Sky City, but they actually found several hundred in the Du family's house. Chu Tian was very satisfied with this. With this batch of 3 lives demonic insects, we can refine several hundred qi refining pills to help our Nanyun medicine store open. Old Xiong did a good job. You've made a great contribution. There will be a heavy reward later. Xiong Tianyan revealed a look of ecstasy. Many thanks, Chairman. Xiong Tianyan was a medicine fanatic. He was not interested in money, but he was obsessed with medicine. If he had the chance to learn 1 or 2 top pill refining methods from Chu Tian, it would be a great honor. Nan Gongyun ran out from the back courtyard. Leader, I found 3 white rhinoceros carriages in the beast pen. They are too beautiful. Can I borrow one to drive? I'll give it to you. Chu Tian was very generous. The other 2 are for Yingying and the young miss. Meng Yingying beamed with joy. I've wanted a good carriage for a long time. I didn't have the money to buy one before. I didn't think there would be one here. Meng Qingwu's mouth also hung a trace of a smile. The white rhinoceros was a very beautiful demon beast. Its body was like jade, snow white and beautiful. It was especially suitable for women. Each white rhinoceros carriage cost over 10,000 gold coins. Meng Qingwu was reluctant to buy it before. In any case, it was free. This fellow's things, she could just take it. Chu Tian waved his hand. Search. Continue searching. Today your boss is in a good mood. Everything we find, we'll give you 1/10 of it. Once everyone heard this, their passions soared. It was like they were injected with chicken blood. Not long after, Meng Yingying's little face was red. Her forehead was covered in sweat as she ran out of the room. Chu Tian, I found an underground warehouse. I found a lot of jewelry. Chu Tian nodded. Load it up and take it away. Meng Yingying loudly shouted, yes. Du Zhentian was about to cry. This was really a big loss. Even though it was Du Zhentian's personal property, it was still years of savings. These people were like robbers. Almost all the valuable things inside and outside the house were taken away. Even the jewels embedded in the bed were dug out. These people plundered everything and stuffed it all into Chu Tian's bronze bull carriage, unexpectedly filling up the entire carriage. Chu Tian looked at Du Zhentian and asked suspiciously, your Du family has been in Tiannan City for decades and is one of the wealthiest families. As the head of the family, you should have at least millions of people's wealth. How can it be so little? Do you still have property that you haven't explained? Du Zhentian almost spat out blood, clenching his teeth. No, it's all in here. Nothing? Do you think I'm stupid? Who would leave everything in their home? Chu Tian didn't care. His harvest was big enough. Du Zhentian was still a character. He couldn't push him too hard. So he stopped while he was ahead. Let's write off all the grievances between us. I'll still say this, if I find out that the Du family has any tricks up their sleeves, I won't let you off lightly. Du Zhentian also let out a sigh of relief. In the future, if he saw anyone from Miracle Commerce, the Du family would definitely take a detour. Chu Tian moved the carriage full of loot back. When the carriage was opened, all kinds of treasures came out, almost blinding people's eyes. Good, very good, instantly out of poverty. Chu Tian laughed with satisfaction. Yingying's hot pot city could earn tens of thousands of gold coins a day, but what use was that? It wasn't even enough for Chu Tian's basic training expenses. This was good. Luo Yuanshan's 500,000 gold coins crystal card. Du Zhentian's home had over 1 million gold coins worth of cash and materials. This place could be converted to over 1,500,000 gold coins. In South Sky City, there were no more than 5 families that could take out this kind of money. Even the mayor's palace couldn't take it out. There was also a pile of hard-to-calculate luxury goods. There was also a large amount of 3 lives demonic insects. The price itself wasn't that high, only around 1 to 200 gold coins. As long as Chu Tian refined it into a qi cultivation pill, he could instantly turn stone into gold, turning it into a pill worth thousands or even tens of thousands. Miracle Commerce was currently short on money. Chu Tian was also short on money for cultivation. This was good. He didn't need to worry about money for a short period of time. Chu Tian planned to raise Xiong Tianyan's strength to the awakened soul realm. Then he would take the position of the Alchemist Guild's chairman. Xiong Tianyan's talent wasn't bad. It was just that he was obsessed with alchemy, so his cultivation growth was slow. Chu Tian only needed to provide him with a few supplementary formulas, and he would definitely succeed. Yi Xiong wouldn't even dream of this. This time, not only did he not completely defeat Chu Tian, instead he allowed Chu Tian to explode in a short period of time. Chapter 61. In just a few days, Miracle Commerce had taken over the Du family's factory and was fully invested in the production of lamps. If this factory was fully operational, it could produce tens of thousands of lamps for Miracle Commerce every day. Miracle Commerce's productivity had increased by 10 times. Meng Qingwu began to wantonly purchase small factories and large amounts of raw materials. Southern Cloud Medicine Shop and Southern Cloud Symbol Shop had received large amounts of funds. They began to purchase workshops and directly recruited talents from the Alchemist Guild and Symbol Master Guild, preparing for their official operations. Miracle Commerce's development was very good. Chu Tian's prestige in South Sky City was even higher than before the storm. However, Chu Tian did not feel relaxed at all because the real trouble had just begun. Nangong personally came to visit, and his first sentence was, "I've received news that you killed the Luo family's elder and the Chu family's outstanding heir. This matter has already been spread to Central State City." With these words, everyone was shocked. Nangong seemed to be very worried. You've gained a lot of limelight, but you've also attracted the anger of the two families. So, your situation has not become better, but rather it has become worse. You have to be prepared for revenge at any time. Meng Qingwu's eyebrows knit together. The two families are not inferior to the Ye family. If they join hands for revenge, I'm afraid it will be hard to resist. Elder sister, what are you worried about? Meng Yingying began to have blind confidence in Chu Tian. No matter how strong they are still not Central State City's families. If I want to deal with Chu Tian, it will be too far. You can't say that. Nangong gave a soft sigh. Chu Tian had attracted the attention of the two families before, but he did not receive much attention. It was only a small fight. If the two great families are truly enraged, the situation will be completely different. Nangong was right. The Chu family, the Luo family, and the Ye family. The four great families of Central State. Which one of them was not like a hornet's nest? If a normal person stabbed any one of them, they would not be able to bear the consequences. Chu Tian wasn't polite at all. He didn't even go to the Central State and directly stabbed 3 of them. These 3 families were not to be trifled with. Their positions were deeply rooted, and they had many awakened soul cultivators. It could even be said that experts were as common as clouds. Moreover, it was easy to dodge a spear in the open, but hard to guard against an arrow in the dark. If they sent out assassins, it would be hard for Chu Tian to survive. The 3 families might also use Chu Tian as an excuse to suppress miracle commerce. This was a huge test for the newly born miracle commerce. I'll write a letter to the family and ask them to send reinforcements. When Nangong said this, he suddenly paused. But King City is tens of thousands of miles away from here, and Central State Main City is only 1,000 miles away. Distant water cannot put out a nearby fire. Nangong frowned and said, "Then what should we do? We can't just sit here and wait for death." Meng Qingwu gave a suggestion. "We can hide Chu Tian first. This way we can avoid the most intense conflict. Even if we want to retaliate, we won't be able to find him." Nangong was the mayor, but his foundation was not stable. Under the pressure of the 3 families, if he chose to fight them head-on, he might even lose his life. If he could avoid direct conflict with the 3 families. Protect miracle commerce. Protect Meng Qingwu and Meng Yingying. Nangong was confident he could do this. Everyone was racking their brains to help Chu Tian clean up his mess. Chu Tian gave a long yawn on the side, as if he was about to fall asleep listening to this. "Young miss, didn't you help me get a black market pass? I want to go to the black market and see if I can find any useful materials. While I'm at it, what do you think?" Nangong was shocked. "You want to go to the black market?" Meng Qingwu quickly said, "That's not right." Meng Qingwu explained, "If you stay in Tianan City, you can still be protected, but if you swagger out of the city, wouldn't that be playing into their hands? In Tianan City, which Ye family doesn't have eyes. If you leave Tianan City, it's impossible to not be discovered by them." Chu Tian laughed. "How could this be difficult for me? Wait a few minutes, I'll be right back." What kind of medicine did this Chu Tian have up his sleeves? After a few minutes, a green-robed youth hurriedly walked in. "This little one is Lu Run, greets the sirs." Who is this? This person was not even 20 years old, with thick eyebrows and big eyes. Apart from this, there was nothing special about him. He was simply an extremely ordinary person. If he was thrown into a crowd, he would not attract any attention. What a good name. He was definitely a passerby from head to toe. Meng Yingying walked in front of Lu Run and stared at his eyes for a long time. She pinched his cheeks and pulled his hair, revealing a shocked expression. "You're Chu Tian?" Chu Tian laughed. "My disguise technique isn't bad." Whether it was his height, body shape, facial features, or even his voice, everything had changed. This was a completely different person. How could there be such a powerful disguise technique in the world? Nangong felt that this was inconceivable. "How did you do it?" Chu Tian laughed. Hee hee, with the help of some potions and a unique disguise technique. "I'll teach you next time when I have the chance." If he walked out at this time, no one would be able to recognize Chu Tian. Let the mayor make up a reasonable identity for him. In an instant, He had become a completely different person. Chu Tian saw everyone's shocked expression and proudly said, "Remember, I'm called Lu Run, a rogue cultivator. Because I accidentally obtained an entrance ticket to the black market, I went to the black market to try my luck. I don't know you, and I have nothing to do with miracle commerce." High, really high. Like this, he could really deceive everyone. If Chu Tian stayed in South Sky City, because he often came in contact with Meng Yingying and Meng Qingwu, he could be seen through. But once Chu Tian left South Sky City, who would know of his relationship with miracle commerce? The black market is far away in the Yin Corpse Valley. Nangongyi was a bit afraid of the Yin Corpse Valley. The Yin Corpse Valley is an ominous place. How much do you know about it? What was the black market? A special market outside of the normal market. If foreign merchants wanted to do business in the city, not only were the procedures very complicated, they also had to pay high taxes. The amount of goods was strictly limited to avoid disrupting the local market and harming the local companies. The number of caravans was strictly limited to avoid undercover agents, spies, or other people with bad intentions, using the name of traveling merchants to hide. Because of these kinds of restrictions, the black market was born. It was not under the jurisdiction of the city. Caravans from all over could freely transport goods. They could come and go as they pleased. There were no restrictions and no taxes. The local hot treasures, stolen or robbed, were not convenient to sell in the city, so they would be taken to the black market to be sold to merchants. Over time, the black market formed a large scale. Because of the frequent suppression of the kingdom, the black market did not dare openly establish itself in the wild. So most of the black markets were in inaccessible places. Some were even built in extremely evil places. The Yin Corpse Valley was such a place. Nangongyi gave a simple introduction. The Yin Corpse Valley is a famous ominous place in Central State. It is said that 6,000 years ago, it was the headquarters of a powerful evil sect. No one knows why it was suddenly destroyed. However, the Yin Corpse Valley is filled with traps. It is a very dangerous place. The black market was actually built in the ruins of an ancient sect. Chu Tian was very interested. Nangongyi continued to introduce. The Yin Corpse Valley is most famous for its Yin corpses. It is said that the people that die in the Yin Corpse Valley, their bodies will not rot for 10 years because they absorb the mysterious Yin energy. They will finally become Yin corpses. It sounds very terrifying. Meng Yingying revealed a frightened expression. Are the Yin corpses very strong? Although they are transformed by humans, they have already become demons. They have long lost their humanity. Naturally, they are incomparably fierce. Nangongyi continued. Yin corpses are not living beings. Their lifespans are unlimited. The longer the Yin corpse lives, the stronger it is. Nangongyi introduced. A 10-year-old Yin corpse has a first body refinement layer cultivation. It is invulnerable. It has infinite strength. It also has corpse poison. Its battle strength is not inferior to a second or third body refinement layer human cultivator. After that, every 10 years, it evolves by one level. A 20-year-old Yin corpse is equivalent to a second body refinement layer. A 30-year-old Yin corpse is equivalent to a third body refinement layer cultivator. The Yin Corpse Valley is thousands of years old, so there's no lack of 100-year-old corpses. There are even 1,000-year-old corpse monsters. Meng Qingwu's dark brows knit together. People only knew of the mysterious black market, but they did not know that the black market was this dangerous. It was impossible for Chu Tian to bring a bodyguard. He could only go alone to the Yin Corpse monster territory. How could they feel at ease? Yin corpses? This was a little interesting. Chu Tian was not afraid at all. This kind of thing, I know about it. You can be assured, I have a way to deal with them. He originally wanted to go to the black market to try his luck. This was not only a black market, it was also an ancient sect ruins. This kind of place was full of opportunities. If Chu Tian did not go take a look, how could it be justified? Nangongyi saw that he could not convince Chu Tian. He could only helplessly give up, but Chu Tian was very resourceful. Although his personality was a bit wild, he was not stupid. He should know his limits. The black market camp was at the edge of the Yin Corpse Valley. There would not be strong Yin corpses in this area. Chu Tian prepared for 2 days in South Sky City. His bag was filled with talismans, bottles of medicine, and pills. His whole person looked like a normal rogue cultivator. Cash. First bring 500,000 gold coins. Changing it all to gold card, 10,000 gold coins each. This money was not necessarily needed, because Chu Tian had heard from Nangong that foreign merchants did not necessarily accept the kingdom's gold coins. But it was better to be prepared. He could not bring less money. Preparations complete. Chu Tian swaggered out of South Sky City. He rode his horse all the way north. Chu Tian traveled day and night for several days. Finally, he reached a small town called Blackstone Town. Blackstone Town was the closest small town to the Enchantment Valley. The entire town had less than 100,000 people. Half of them were outsiders. If they were not disciples of influential families that came to the Enchantment Valley, then they were merchants or rogue cultivators that wanted to try their luck in the black market. After Chu Tian changed his appearance, he did not stand out in the crowd. He wandered around Blackstone Town. At the same time, he inquired about the Enchantment Valley. Selling elixirs, freshly dug up herbs. Selling beast cores, high-quality beast cores. Black goods that just came out of the oven. If you want to buy it, quickly come take a look. Blackstone Town was not a black market, but there were many small traders in the small town. This was a remote town with many people moving around, so the management was not strict. Buying and selling was very free. Many of them were stolen goods. If one was patient enough, perhaps they could find some treasures. Latest news. Latest news. The Great Zhou Country's Black Moon Sex caravan has just arrived at the black market, bringing large amounts of top-quality herbs, equipment, and cultivation techniques. They don't want the kingdom's gold coins, only corpse cores. As long as you have enough corpse cores, you can exchange for anything you want. When this news came out, everyone was very shocked. This country was called Southern Xia. It was only a small kingdom. The Great Zhou Country was also a kingdom, but it was a large kingdom. Its population and influence, it was not something Southern Xia could compare to. A Great Zhou Country sect came to Southern Xia. Even if it was a normal thing in the Great Zhou Country, in Southern Xia, it was a top-quality item that everyone wanted. Chu Tian's heart was very moved. He had to go to the black market as soon as possible. But entering the black market was not that easy. The Enchantment Valley's terrain was very complex, and there were many traps. He might not be able to leave in 8 to 10 days. There was also the possibility of encountering danger, so it was necessary to find a guide or find a companion that was familiar with the terrain. But where should he find one? Chapter 62. In the center of Blackstone Town, cultivators gathered. It was very noisy. The Great Zhou Country's caravan released the news. Everyone wanted to grab this chance to exchange for some rare resources from the large country sections. The Enchantments were very strong. It was too dangerous to kill them alone. Therefore, rogue cultivators formed teams with each other. This way they could take care of each other. Is young Ms. Kai Dai recruiting team members? Although she came to the black market recently, with young Ms. Kai Dai's strength and appearance, her reputation is not small. Now we're missing a spot. Should we go and try? Are you stupid? They're all abnormal. 4 of them are in the 9th body refinement layer. You're only in the 7th body refinement layer. Are you going to humiliate yourself? Shush. Be quiet. Don't you see Ding Feng is here? Do you dare compare yourself to him? The cultivators who were eager to try all shrank their necks in fright. A woman and 2 men stood in the open space. The woman had a delicate long sword on her back. Wearing a colorful palace dress, she had a gentle temperament, dignified and gentle. Although she wasn't a stunning beauty, her eyes were very bright, with a special charm. She was a very charming woman. On the left was a tall and strong man. His weapon was a giant hammer. On the right was a dark-skinned short youth. His weapon was 2 short knives with a long bow on his back. The colorful clothed woman said to everyone, "Our team is missing a spot. We need to have a cultivation at the 9th body refinement layer." With these words, everyone sighed. In the entire Blackstone Town, how many people were at the 9th body refinement layer? The colorful clothed woman continued, "The corpse cores in the valley will be evenly distributed. Does anyone want to try?" While everyone was silent, a tall and sturdy man walked out. overbearingly saying, "Since these useless things don't have the guts, then the spot belongs to me, Ding Feng." He's the black iron palm Ding Feng? His black iron palm is very strong. That's right, we shouldn't fight with him. Everyone began to discuss. They seemed to be afraid of this person. Kai Dai felt Ding Feng's strong aura. She knew that she had recruited an expert. She tentatively shouted, "Does anyone else want to try? Strength speaks here. Whoever is stronger will be chosen. Does anyone want to try?" Ding Feng crossed his arms in front of his chest, his face filled with arrogance. "Young Ms. Kai Dai, do you think there is anyone more suitable than me? Instead of wasting time on this pile of trash, it would be better to kill a few more corpses." His words infuriated many people. How arrogant. "Let me try." A muscular man jumped out with a blade in his hand. The sharp wind from the blade struck over. The blade light weaved into a brilliant flower, covering Ding Feng's body. Oof. Insignificant skill. Ding Feng's palms glowed with a metallic luster as he struck the blade, directly bending the fine iron blade. The burly man was horrified. "I've lost." However, Ding Feng did not stop there. Both of his palms struck out at the same time, landing heavily on the muscular man's chest. The sound of bones breaking could be heard. The burly man was sent flying 10 meters away. His entire chest had caved in, and he seemed to be on the verge of death. "This is the result of challenging me." Ding Feng laughed coldly and shouted, "Who is still not convinced? Get out here." Everyone was so frightened that they took a step back, all of them revealing expressions of deep fear. Amazing. This is the black, iron, strong strength palm technique. Ding Feng was a very famous body refinement rogue cultivator. Because of a fortuitous encounter, he had learned the black, iron, strong strength palm technique. Now he had mastered it. He could use his bare hands to block blades. His strength was not small. This person's nature was very cruel. If one understood him, they would not easily provoke him. The burly man was just asking for trouble. Kai Dai was a little dissatisfied with Ding Feng's ruthlessness. They weren't life or death enemies. Why did he have to make such a heavy move? But Ding Feng's strength, she still recognized it. Kai Dai's clear and gentle voice rang out. She did not want to see more people injured. "Your Excellency's palm technique is good. Your cultivation has reached the 9th body refinement layer, completely meeting our requirements. We welcome you to our team." Ding Feng received the beauty's praise. His heart was a little proud. How can these wastes be young Miss Kai Dai's companions? This spot naturally belongs to me. Too arrogant and savage. Ding Feng was truly strong. Everyone was angry, but did not dare say anything. Ding Feng enjoyed this feeling of being revered by others. Just as he was about to swagger over, a young voice suddenly rang out from the crowd. "Wait a minute." A very young youth walked out in front of the surprised eyes of the crowd. He was not even 20 years old. His appearance was very mediocre, but his eyes were bright and clear. Ding Feng stopped and slowly turned around. His gloomy black face revealed a trace of anger. "Little brat, do you know what consequences you will have to pay for making me wait?" Fuck, this guy was so arrogant. Chu Tian's sword-like eyebrows knit together. He clearly said, "I think I'm more suitable to join this team. So please scram." Was he seeking death? A 10-year-old youth dared to say these kinds of words in front of Ding Feng. This youth was too impulsive, most likely angering Ding Feng. Kai Dai quickly tried to persuade him. "This little brother, we only accept experts at the 9th body refinement layer. Your cultivation base is not weak, but there is still a gap from the 9th body refinement layer. Didn't you just say, 'Here we speak with strength'?" Chu Tian's voice changed. He said very strongly, "I think here, I am the strongest." Everyone sucked in a cold breath. The sledgehammer-wielding brawny man next to Kai Dai grinned. "This little brat is a little interesting. You dare be so arrogant in front of me?" Ding Feng's breathing became heavy, his eyes sinister and terrifying. "I don't know if I should admire your courage or your stupidity. Since you want to die, I'll help you." His palms began to emit a black iron luster. Dang! The black iron palm directly fell onto the youth's body. The youth's body released a clear bell-like sound. Ding Feng's palms did not hit a body of flesh and blood, but rather an incomparably large ancient bell. Scram! Chu Tian's body flashed with starlight. Wah! Ding Feng gave a pitiful cry as he was sent flying several feet. He received internal injuries on the spot. Both his arms were broken. This made everyone present stunned. How shocking was Ding Feng's palm strength? His full-strength palm had hit the youth. But not only did he not kill the youth, he had instead received heavy injuries. Chu Tian did not even look at Ding Feng. His entire body was covered in a dreamy starlight. He directly walked in front of the rainbow-clothed woman. I'm called Lu Ren. Passerby, what kind of strange name was this? Kai Dai found it hard to hide the shock in her eyes. You should be practicing a high-level defensive cultivation technique. Could it be you've already reached the large success realm? You can actually resist an attack from someone with a higher cultivation realm. You really are powerful. You have the qualifications to join us. Large success realm? It will be strange. Chu Tian's starlight immortal body had not even reached the small success glass body. Of course, this kind of shocking matter. It was better to hide it in his heart. When did this kind of person appear in Central State? Why haven't they heard of it before? That strange defensive cultivation technique. They had never heard of it from their elders. I'm called Kai Dai. This big fellow is called Xiang Hu. This silent gourd is called Di Jian. Kai Dai was around 20 years old. She was a beautiful woman with a good temperament. Chu Tian stared at Kai Dai's face for 2 seconds. He revealed a pondering smile. This woman had actually changed her appearance, but compared to him, she was still lacking. Could it be that Kai Dai was an ugly monster? Did she change her appearance to make herself beautiful? Chu Tian secretly cursed in his heart, but he had no interest in exposing her. Didn't you say there were 5 people? There's still one more. The other one is called by Zimo. He has already entered the black market several times, so he is very familiar with the terrain. His cultivation is also the highest. He has reached the peak 9th body refinement layer. He is a famous genius in Central State City. He has done things like jumping levels just like you. Let's go, we'll go see him. At the small town gate, Bai Zimo was wearing a gorgeous white silk robe. He had a long sword embedded with gems on his back. He had a jade crown on his head. His skin was white and clean. From his appearance, it could be seen that this person was not a rogue cultivator. He was probably from a noble family. Bai Zimo was a little impatient waiting. Why are you guys so slow? What are you doing? When he saw the young Chu Tian, Bai Zimo's brows wrinkled. He used a harsh tone to reprimand. I told you to find a helper. Why did you bring back trash? He doesn't even have the strength of the 9th body refinement layer. He will only hold us back. This kind of waste is better off not having him. Tell him to scram. In this world, the strong were respected. Bai Zimo's tone was this arrogant. He most likely had some ability. Kai Dai revealed an awkward expression. Zimo, don't be angry. Little brother Lu Run is a bit young, and his cultivation is a bit weak, but his battle strength is not bad. He has cultivated a strange body protection technique that even Chu Feng's black iron strong palm could not break. Xiang Hu's tall and sturdy figure stood up. Brother Bai, we all saw it with our own eyes. When Chu Feng's palm came, little brother did not dodge. He used his body protection cultivation technique to injure Chu Feng. Humph, is that so? If that's the case, then Chu Feng is just a waste with an undeserved reputation. Bai Zimo said this, but his heart was filled with fear and jealousy. This brat was so young and could already fight Chu Feng. In a few years, he wouldn't be any worse than him. Bai Zimo's heart was in a bad mood. All right, since it's like this, I'll let you join us. At a critical moment, you can be a meat shield. Let's go. Bai Zimo did not even look at Chu Tian. He turned around. We have to get to the black market before it gets dark. Kai Dai quickly persuaded Chu Tian. His personality is just like this. Don't mind him. Xiang Hu also comforted him. That's right, Bai Zimo not only has a high cultivation, his family also has people in the black market. This kind of good background, a strong person, it's normal for him to be a bit arrogant. It's said that he's been in and out of the black market many times. With him leading the way, we can avoid the dangerous areas and arrive safely. Chu Tian slightly nodded his head. He didn't care too much about it. There was nothing wrong with being arrogant, but one had to know one's own limits and have basic principles. Although Bai Zimo's attitude was arrogant, his mouth was only a bit sharp. Chu Tian didn't need to fight him to the death just because of his tongue. Kai Dai, Xiang Hu, and Di Jian, these three were all at the 9th body refinement layer. Bai Zimo was at the peak 9th body refinement layer. Only Chu Tian was at the peak 8th body refinement layer. But the so-called genius Bai Zimo, his strength was at most similar to Chu Yi, although it was a bit troublesome to deal with. But Chu Tian didn't put him in his eyes. Outside of Blackstone Town, weeds and withered trees, dead silent and ruined, it was a lifeless scene. The silent short youth Di Jian spoke for the first time. Everyone be careful. There are several Yin corpses in front of us. This person's cultivation technique was very special. It seemed like he had a good investigative ability. Whenever Yin corpses appeared, he would always be the first to discover them. From the rubble, several human-shaped monsters walked out. Their bodies were surrounded by a strange Yin Qi, looking very scary. Their bodies were shriveled and devoid of moisture, like dried corpses. Their bodies were covered in white, fungal hairs, and their pitch-black nails were sharp and slender. Their eyes were a demonic green, and their twisted expressions were not mixed with the slightest bit of humanity. These were Yin corpses? The Yin corpses were divided into different levels from the corpse hair. This corpse hair was a kind of Yin Qi and corpse Qi. Body refinement realm Yin corpses were white. Awakened soul realm Yin corpses were black. Someone once said that they had seen a blood-colored Yin corpse. Of course, this was only a rumor. The black Yin corpses were several hundred-year-old corpses. The blood-colored Yin corpses were at least several thousand-year-old corpse monsters. Once the blood-colored Yin corpses appeared, not to mention the Black Market Camp, Blackstone Town, even the nearby cities, would all suffer from Yin Qi. It's at most 30 to 40 years old. Do it. Chapter 63. 30-40-year-old Yin corpses. They should have been formed recently. Most of them were rogue cultivators, at most in the 3rd to 4th body refinement layer. They were not a threat at all. Di Jian took the lead, taking out 4 to 5 arrows. So. At a 45-degree angle, looking up at the sky, he shot them all into the sky. The black arrows fell straight down. The Yin corpses did not even notice. Each of their heads had been pierced by an arrow, falling straight down. Fast. Too fast. Chu Tian couldn't help praising. Good archery. Di Jian put away his bow, giving a friendly smile. He did not say anything. Bai Zimo crossed his arms and disdainfully taunted. This kind of insignificant skill. Only people like you would think it's good. What are you standing there for? Are you going to watch the show? Go get the corpse core. Bai Zimo not only did not give Chu Tian face, he also embarrassed Di Jian. He even put on a commanding tone. This made people somewhat annoyed. Chu Tian was puzzled. You little brat. You really have a sense of superiority. I've already let you go once. You wouldn't think that I'm a spineless coward, right? Bai Zimo crossed his arms, coldly smiled and said, You don't seem convinced. Lu Run, I'll go with you. Kai Dai was afraid of causing a conflict in the team. She pulled Chu Tian away. Bai Zimo seeing this, his brows wrinkled even deeper, his eyes flashed a trace of annoyance. The others were all very easy to get along with. Only Bai Zimo's temper was too bad. Bai Zimo was indispensable. Not to mention Bai Zimo being familiar with the terrain, knowing how to avoid traps in dangerous areas. With his strong strength, he could solve the problem for the team in a critical moment. With a strong teammate by their side, their hearts felt a bit more at ease. His temper, they could just endure it. Corpse cores and beast cores were different. The beast core was the source energy of a demon beast. When the demon beast was about to advance, it would condense in its body. So killing 10 demon beasts, obtaining 1 beast core was already good enough. Corpse cores were completely different. They were condensed from Yin Qi and corpse Qi. Every Yin corpse would produce 1. Because of this, the Yin corpse valley's production was very high. The cultivation techniques of the evil sects often required corpse cores to assist in their cultivation. In some special alchemy or refining processes, corpse cores were also an important material. Chu Tian did not understand the cultivation methods of the evil sections. The corpse cores would be of limited help to him. It would be better to collect them and exchange them for the materials he needed in the black market. The 5 of them continued forward. The Een Corpse Valley was filled with Een corpses, but up until now, the Een corpses they had met, their strengths were not very strong. Xiang Hu, Kai Dai, and Di Jian, they could instantly deal with the Een corpses. Di Jian's mobility was very strong, and he was good at long-range shooting. Xiang Hu practiced a fierce and violent cultivation technique. He had a strong destructive power at close range. There was not a single Een corpse that could block his hammer. What surprised Chu Tian the most was Kai Dai. This girl's strength was not weak at all. Although her cultivation base was only at the 9th body refinement layer, her cultivation technique was very good. Her martial arts were also very rich. With the autumn water treasure sword in her hand, her battle strength was greatly increased, almost reaching the peak of the 9th body refinement layer. Young Miss Kai Dai was not an ordinary person. Whether it was the cultivation technique, martial arts, or equipment, this was not something a trivial rogue cultivator could have. Bai Zimo and Chu Tian had not made a move yet. Because Bai Zimo was the strongest, he needed to conserve his spirit energy, using it to deal with special situations. Chu Tian did not make a move because everyone thought of him as a strong meat shield cultivator. There were more and more corpse cores. They filled the entire bag. Xiang Hu excitedly said, "We've almost collected 100 corpse cores. If we divide them evenly, we can go to the Great Zhou country's black market caravans and exchange them for a good medicine or even a good weapon." Kai Dai's face was filled with joy. The long sword in her hand was as clear as autumn water, beautiful and moving. Now that we've entered the Een Corpse Valley, we cannot be careless. We must be careful. He did not even finish speaking. There was a terrifying howl in front of them, a bone-chilling cold wind. It was like an ice blade whistling through the air, making the hearts of the 5 of them feel a chill. Di Jian's face changed as he said, "There is the aura of a high-level Een corpse in the southwest." When everyone looked over, they saw an Een corpse covered in mud, slowly crawling out a hole in the ground. This was clearly different from a normal Een corpse. Its body was not withered. Rather, it was very strong. It was covered in a dark green corpse poison. Its fierce eyes stared at them. The terrifying killing intent made it hard for them to breathe. Xiang Hu felt his heart jump. This Een corpse has the strength of a 9th body refinement layer. Een corpses are invulnerable. They also have corpse poison. Even if we're at the same level, it would still be difficult for us to be their opponent. Kai Dai felt a little nervous. She couldn't help taking a step back. "Bai Zimo, you can easily deal with him here. I'll have to trouble you to make a move. No need to be anxious." Bai Zimo did not panic. He said in a joking tone, "We still have one person. We haven't made a move yet." Kai Dai clenched her fists. She angrily said, "Zimo, at this time, can you not be like this?" "Humph, young Miss Kai Dai, what are you worried about? I'm here to protect you. You won't be hurt." Bai Zimo crossed his arms in front of his chest, his eyes staring at the Een corpse in front of him. He did not have any thoughts of making a move. "I just can't stand some people who reap without sowing, mixing into the team, but never putting in any effort." This Bai Zimo was clearly targeting Chu Tian. "What are you still doing?" Bai Zimo said to Chu Tian in a condescending tone. "This one is yours. Why haven't you made a move yet?" Een corpses were at least 100 years old. A person at the 8th body refinement layer going to deal with them. Wasn't that just seeking death? Een corpses were good at using corpse poison. In close combat, they had to defeat them in one go. Otherwise, if they were infected with the Een corpse's poison, they would die without a doubt. Een corpses were demons. They did not have the weakness of living beings. They even had copper skin and iron bones. This youth's cultivation was not only weak, he was clearly walking the defensive path. Letting him deal with such a powerful Een corpse, wasn't that sending him to his death? Kai Dai angrily said, "Do you want to see him die? I told you, our team doesn't need useless people. It was you who brought him in. Can you blame me for this?" Bai Zimo coldly said, "If he really dies, then that's a good thing. One less person means we'll get a few more corpse cores, right? Good, good. If you don't make a move, then forget it." Kai Dai couldn't bear it. "Lu Ren, let's go together." Xiang, who also couldn't stand by Zimo's conduct, "I'll also help." Di Jian did not say anything, but he used his actions to show his stance. He took out a black arrow from his back and prepared to fight. Bai Zimo revealed a trace of anger. That's right, he was purposely messing with this brat. Who told this brat to have such a strong strength at such a young age? Chu Feng was not a simple person. He could easily defeat the 9th body refinement layer Chu Feng with his 8th body refinement layer cultivation. His talent was even higher than his own. Bai Zimo's nature was very proud, so he was very arrogant. He couldn't stand others being stronger than him. Because of this, he didn't like this brat from the beginning. So what if his talent was high? Even geniuses could easily fall. Who would have thought that Kai Dai and the others would dare to go against him, ruining Bai Zimo's plans? Chu Tian gave a slight sigh. How could he not see through Bai Zimo's thoughts? This kind of person had no tolerance, narrow-minded, afraid of competition. No matter how high his talent was, he was doomed to not have any big achievements. No need to trouble you. I'll give it a try. Chu Tian's legs kicked out. Like a phantom, he quickly rushed out, his toes stepping on a rock. He immediately shot out like an arrow. When the Yin corpse saw this, the corpse poison on its body became even thicker. Its claws were filled with black qi. It roared as it charged at Chu Tian. Quickly come back. You can't deal with it alone. Kai Dai and Xiang, whose expressions changed. Di Jian quickly pulled out his bow. Chu Tian took out a talisman in midair and poured his spirit energy into the talisman, immediately activating the source energy array. Entering hyperfocus, he dodged the Yin corpse's claw and slapped the talisman onto the Yin corpse. The talisman turned into a white spear. It pierced through the Yin corpse's chest, coming out from its back. Go! This spear of light pierced the Yin corpse's body, actually pinning the Yin corpse to the rock wall. It is reasonable to say Yin corpses were not afraid of normal injuries, but this Yin corpse let out a mournful howl. Its body was covered in smoke, like it was on fire, in a short while it turned into a dried-up corpse. Di Jian's bow was only half drawn, because Chu Tian's movements were too fast, rushing out like lightning, skillfully avoiding the attack, releasing the talisman technique, breaking the enemy in one move. It was like he had practiced it thousands of times. It was simply too smooth. Such a strong 100-year-old Yin corpse was actually killed in one move. Kai Dai's face was filled with shock. How did you do it? Chu Tian dug out the corpse core and walked back. I have a light attribute talisman technique. The light attribute has a special killing effect on Yin corpses. Bai Zimo's eyes flashed with anger. He coldly said, Humph, using external objects to fight. What is there to be proud of? I really feel disdain for you. Kai Dai was very disappointed in Bai Zimo. She never thought that this fellow would actually be such a narrow-minded person. No matter what, Lu Rin killed the Yin corpse. The difficulty of killing this Yin corpse surpasses the sum of the Yin corpses we've just killed. You have nothing to say. Bai Zimo's face sank. He did not say anything. However, at this time, Di Jian suddenly shouted out in horror, This is bad. There are many Yin corpses nearby. We've been surrounded. As if it was to set off his words. In all directions of the canyon, the mournful cries of the Yin corpses came at the same time, from the caves and the ground. From the caves, Yin corpses kept crawling out. Each one was filled with a dense ghost aura, their faces fierce. The majority of them had a strength of the 7th or 8th soul layer. Bai Zimo's face changed. I've walked this road many times. How could there be this many Yin corpses? The Yin corpses were in a deep sleep most of the time. Only under certain circumstances could they awaken en masse. At this moment, in all directions of the 5 of them, there were close to 100 Yin corpses, and each one was not weak. Ayo, ayo! A terrifying roar suddenly came from above them. On the cliff that was around 50 to 60 meters high, there was actually a Yin corpse wearing tattered armor. This Yin corpse was not only strong, the corpse aura around it had already turned a faint black. It was clear that the poison was even stronger. The most terrifying thing was this Yin corpse's hair. Half of it had already turned black. A terrifying existence that had already evolved into a black Yin corpse. In other words, this corpse's strength was very close to an awakened soul cultivator. Because of the corpse's unique advantage, even though it had not reached the awakened soul realm, its strength was already at the first awakened soul layer. This is bad. If it was just 100 normal corpses with the 5 of them working together, they could still deal with it. But now there was an corpse that was close to the awakened soul realm. How could these few people deal with it? By Zimo's eyes flashed. He immediately said, "Waste, now is the time for you to show your usefulness. Your defense is strong. You can block it for a while. As long as you attract its attention, I'll kill it." Chu Tian's defense was strong. Could he block the corpse poison? Not to mention, Chu Tian was only at the 8th body refinement layer. This corpse's battle strength was not inferior to an awakened soul realm cultivator. Why would Bai Zimo want Chu Tian to protect him? He just wanted Chu Tian to stall for time. He wanted to take the chance to escape. Chu Tian gave a cold smile in his heart. He suddenly thought of something and said, "Don't be anxious. There seems to be another person in our team that hasn't made a move yet." Kai Dai, Xiang Hu, and Di Jin all looked at Bai Zimo, without a doubt. Among the 5 of them, only Bai Zimo, who was at the peak 9th body refinement layer, had the ability to temporarily block this corpse. "You guys." Bai Zimo's white face turned red. Chu Tian then said, "Our team does not need a person like you to reap without sowing. So, please make your move." How familiar was this sentence? Wasn't it just a few minutes ago? He had said it to Chu Tian. At this time, the corpse let out an angry roar. From the 10-meter-high cliff, it directly rushed down. This corpse's target was very clear. Bai Zimo's cultivation was the highest. It would attack Bai Zimo first. "Damn!" Bai Zimo roared. He pulled out the long sword on his back. A beautiful sword glow stabbed at the corpse. Chapter 64. His peak 9th body refinement layer cultivation reached its peak. His spirit energy surged out, condensing into the shape of a white crane. With a leap, a sword glow soared into the sky, splitting the blue dome of heaven. Dang! The corpse's claws swept out. The jet black claws and the sword blade collided. The two surging forces separated. Bai Zimo and the corpse were both pushed back several feet. So powerful. They were actually evenly matched. Kai Dai, Xiang Hu, and Di Jin saw a glimmer of hope. Bai Zimo could fight the corpse head-on without being at a disadvantage. There was still hope for this battle. As long as Bai Zimo could stall the 100-year corpse, the other 4 could seize the time and clear out the normal corpses. The 5 of them could work together to deal with the 100-year corpse. They had a chance of winning. But Bai Zimo did not think like this. Just one exchange. Bai Zimo felt his blood boil. He almost couldn't hold the sword in his hand. The corpse's strength far surpassed his imagination. If he stayed behind to block it, there was a risk of losing. Who am I? How can I take a risk for these fellows? This corpse was very strong. Bai Zimo did not have the confidence to defeat it. Even if he worked together with the other 4 and killed it, Bai Zimo would still be injured. His true goal this time was the mysterious ancient sect ruins. Hunting corpse cores, exchanging them for resources, was just something he did in passing. If he was injured for this, it would not be worth it. I have to find a way to escape. The corpse charged forward once again. Bai Zimo raised his sword to block it, borrowing the strong force. He released his white crane source spirit, quickly gliding down, charging at Di Jin. His eyes flashed with a cold glow. "You, what are you doing?" Di Jin felt the terrifying aura from the other side. He couldn't help revealing a panicked expression, but he did not have time to resist. Bai Zimo grabbed Di Jin's shoulder and threw him behind him. Bai Zimo used Di Jin as a shield and threw him out. Kai Dai and Xiang, who were both shocked. "You beast! You waste holding us back. I won't accompany you. You can play by yourself." Bai Zimo's white crane source spirit had the ability to fly for a short period of time. He instantly flew 100 meters, using his fastest speed to abandon the others. In the blink of an eye, he had already escaped. Escaped? He never would have thought. A person could be shameless to this point. Not only did he abandon his companions in danger, he even used his companions' lives to exchange for time to escape. "Go and help." Chu Tian flipped over two normaline corpses blocking his way and charged at Di Jian as fast as he could. It was too late. Di Jian was thrown in front of the 100-year-old Yin corpse without any preparation. His cultivation base was not as high as by Zimo's, and close combat was not Di Jian's strong suit. How could he block it? The first claw, the dagger, was sent flying. The second claw, ripping open the chest and abdomen. The third claw, digging straight into the pit of his stomach. Even Chu Tian couldn't stop this series of ferocious attacks in a flash. Di Jian let out a blood-curdling screech as his bloody body fell to the ground. The surrounding corpses all rushed forward. It was a horrifying scene. Di Jian was dead. A living person had died, just like that. The horde of zombies had begun to riot. This time, it was completely over. Chu Tian had no other choice. He could only step forward and block the 100-year-old Yin corpse. He was hit in the shoulder by the claw and was knocked back several feet. The starlight surrounding his body was actually torn apart. Such a strong attack power. Chu Tian felt a tearing pain in his shoulder. The 100-year-old Yin corpse's strength had actually passed through his body, protecting cultivation technique, and created a wound on his shoulder. Although the wound was not deep, the blood that flowed out had already turned black. It was clear that he had been poisoned. The Yin corpses from all directions charged forward. Chu Tian loudly shouted, "Go block the normal Yin corpses. I'll deal with this one." Kai Dai and Xiang, who were both shocked. A trivial 8th body refinement layer brat could actually take a claw from the 100-year-old Yin corpse and not die? This was a terrifying monster that was close to an awakened soul realm cultivator. At this time, the Yin corpse's monstrous eyes revealed a bloodthirsty look. It opened its mouth full of sharp teeth and spat out a large amount of black fog that instantly enveloped Chu Tian. The two of them looked at each other in amazement. Most of the Yin corpse's threat came from the corpse poison. This fog was formed from the intense corpse poison. Even an awakened soul realm cultivator might not be able to withstand it. He was only an 8th body refinement layer cultivator. How could he survive? Chu Tian retreated while taking out a bottle of medicine. Opening the bottle, he drank it on the spot. He felt a cool feeling spread throughout his body, temporarily blocking the corpse poison from entering his body. Chu Tian could not help but rejoice that he had made preparations. Otherwise, with this corpse poison, he really would not be able to fight. Even if it was like this, he did not dare be careless. The Yin corpse's speed was too fast, and its strength was shocking. In a blink of an eye, it had already arrived in front of him. A claw slammed into Chu Tian's chest, only to see the starlight scattering in all directions. Chu Tian was like a cannonball. He flew out of the black fog, his body creating a ditch in the ground. Roar! The Yin corpse turned into a black shadow as it flew out. A foot stepped on Chu Tian, who was on the ground. Chu Tian slapped the ground and bounced up, dodging the heavy attack by a hair. Dong! The Yin corpse's foot created a shockwave, blowing Chu Tian several meters away. Chu Tian was, after all, not a normal person. He had rich battle experience. Therefore, he was able to balance his body in the air, his feet firmly landing on the ground. Like lightning, he sent out a fist, attacking the Yin corpse chasing after him. Pung! The person and the Yin corpse were both sent flying. Kai Dai used her sword to cut down a normal Yin corpse. When she saw Chu Tian in the middle of a fierce battle, she couldn't help revealing a look of amazement. She discovered that Chu Tian's strength was not inferior to Bai Zimo's. He could even fight to a draw with the Yin corpses. Moreover, he was not afraid of the corpse poison of the Yin corpses. He had been hit several times by the Yin corpses, but was blocked by his tyrannical protective cultivation technique. Too strong. This young man was only at the 8th body refinement layer. He could actually fight to a draw with an awakened soul realm existence. Xiang, who waved his giant hammer and sent 2 Yin corpses flying, he excitedly shouted, "Let's work harder! Block a group of minions! Don't let them disturb little brother!" Kai Dai's confidence increased. The autumn water sword released several beautiful sword glows. For the 5 Yin corpses stood still. At the same time, they were neatly cut into several pieces. After several rounds, Chu Tian's spirit energy was gradually running out. Because of his cultivation, his spirit energy was not high. He would lose this battle of attrition without a doubt. He had to think of a way to decide this battle in one go. Chu Tian closed his body's senses and opened his mind's eye state. His spirit energy condensed. He saw a large amount of brilliant starlight condense on his body, finally becoming as clear as crystal. He had used too much spirit energy this time. Victory or defeat would be decided in one move. This short-duration glass body was his strongest defense. It was enough to block Chu Yi's strongest attack. It could even easily injure Chu Yi. His two sleeves shook. Two talismans fell into his palms. Roar! The Yin corpse charged forward with a terrifying aura. A palm heavily slammed into Chu Tian's chest. That crystal-clear glass. Instantly, large amounts of cracks appeared. The Yin corpse was also sent flying 2 meters by the terrifying strength. Now was the time. The talismans turned into 2 dazzling spears, fiercely stabbing into the Yin corpse's body. Too hard. Chu Tian used all his strength, only stabbing in a little bit. Ayo! The Yin corpse gave a pitiful cry, constantly emitting black fog. The light energy was seriously injuring it. Home! The Yin corpse's fist landed on Chu Tian's body. The glass body instantly shattered, turning into countless starlight particles. But Chu Tian's mouth also leaked blood. The glass body had been broken. If the Yin corpse attacked again, Chu Tian's life would be in danger. Break for me! Chu Tian's hands held a spear of light, using all his strength to push the Yin corpse forward. Finally hitting a rock wall, the spear of light stabbed forward, finally piercing through the Yin corpse's body. The terrifying strength created a large hole in the rock behind it. His legs kicked out. Chu Tian pushed it away. The Yin corpse gave a pitiful cry. Its body ignited in flames. In just a short while, this incomparably strong Yin corpse had turned into a motionless burnt corpse. Chu Tian turned back to help Kai Dai and Xiang Hu in less than 5 minutes. The other Yin corpses had all been swept away. Did we really do this? Kai Dai looked at the Yin corpses on the ground, not daring to believe her eyes. The 3 of them had killed over 100 Yin corpses that were not weak. There was even a powerful existence that had almost evolved into a black-haired corpse monster. Xiang Hu was filled with admiration towards Chu Tian. Brother, are you still human? You're simply a monster. Chu Tian was half dead tired. His body was covered in several wounds. Go collect the corpse cores. There are at least 130 here. Moreover, the quality is very high. Kai Dai and Xiang, who had just escaped death, they still had lingering fears. Hearing Chu Tian say this, the 2 of them revealed a look of joy. That's right. This was a large amount of spoils of war. The 2 of them spent a lot of effort putting the corpse cores into the bag. Kai Dai weighed the heavy bag, revealing a gratified smile. Our harvest is too big. I estimate that when we reach the camp, we'll have at least 300 corpse cores. Little brother Lu Run, this time it was all thanks to you. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to reach the camp. I'll give you half of my share. Xiang Hu also said, I'll also give you half. Chu Tian was a little surprised. I'm afraid this isn't appropriate. Kai Dai gave a carefree smile and said, the capable get more. It's only natural. You don't have to refuse. Chu Tian's impression of the 2 of them couldn't help but increase. They knew how to repay kindness. At least their character wasn't bad. Chu Tian really needed a lot of corpse cores to exchange for materials, so he was not polite. Hey, you seem to have forgotten about me. When the 3 of them were resting, a cold voice rang out. Bai Zimo, you still have the face to appear. Bai Zimo was wearing a white robe, holding a long sword as he walked over. His eyes swept over the Yin corpses on the ground, looking at the 3 exhausted people. His lips curled into a cold smile. I never thought that you would have some skills. I don't want to waste my breath. Just hand over my share. Xiang Hu angrily said, do you still have any face? Bai Zimo directly sent out his sword chi. Xiang Hu hurriedly raised his giant hammer to block. That tyrannical strength forced him back a few steps, blood leaking from the corner of his mouth. I've changed my mind. These corpse cores, I want them all. As for you guys, I think you should stay in this Corpse Valley forever. Maybe after 10 years, you'll become corpses. Zimo did not want today's matters to be spread out, so he could only silence them by killing them. Kai-Dai found it hard to believe. You want to kill us? I'm very sorry, young Miss Kai-Dai. I actually quite like you. It's a pity I won't have the chance to do it with you. Zimo's obscene eyes looked over Kai-Dai's body, finally falling onto the autumn water like a long sword in his hand. This is the autumn water sword, right? This kind of good sword, it's a waste in your hands. Let me display its value. Chu Tian slowly stood up. You seem to be happy too early. Zimo locked onto Chu Tian, his killing intent rising. You talk too much. I'll start with you first. A cold light flashed. The treasure sword stabbed out. A trash like you also wants to kill me. Chu Tian opened his mind's eye, seeing through the enemy's spirit energy flow, including his flaws and weaknesses. With a slight difference, he dodged the dangerous sword wind. He lifted his leg and kicked out, directly in the stomach. Zimo gave a pitiful cry. He was kicked into the opposite giant rock, his body smashing the giant rock into pieces. Zimo spat out several mouthfuls of blood, dyeing his white robe red. His jade crown fell off. His hair was disheveled. He was in a very sorry state. How could you? Chu Tian picked up a sword on the ground. Step by step, he walked over to Zimo. Zimo fearfully moved back. Wait, I don't want it. I don't want the corpse cores anymore. Chu Tian looked at him with a pitiful gaze. Zimo clenched his fists, revealing a ruthless look. My brother's in the black market camp. If you dare touch a single hair on my head, you're dead. If you dare kill me, I'll exterminate your 3 clans. What a joke. I don't dare kill you. Chu Tian raised his long sword. No. Zimo cried out in despair. A cold light directly cut off his head. Chu Tian stabbed the sword into the ground. The last of his spirit energy was used up. Chu Tian felt dizzy. He quickly took out a recovery medicine from his pocket and drank it. Kai-Dai and Xiang Hu looked at each other in blank dismay. You really killed him? Zimo's brother is an awakened soul cultivator. He's very famous in the black market camp. If he dies, I'm afraid. Chu Tian looked at the two of them and said, You're too naive. This fellow betrayed his companion without even blinking an eye. You think that if you let him go, I'll be safe? Since it's like this, it's better to just kill him. The two of them were stunned. That's right. This kind of person with a bad character, if he was left alive, he would be a disaster. Chu Tian rested for a few minutes. There are more and more corpses nearby. Let's go. Today, the Corpse Valley was not normal. Large amounts of sleeping corpses, inexplicably awakened. The number of corpses in the valley had increased. They were also incomparably wild. However, even though there were many corpses, they did not meet any over 100-year-old corpses. Along the way, there was no danger. At dusk, the 3 of them reached their destination. Chu Tian finally saw the legendary black market. Chapter 65. Under the blood-red sunset. A giant pitch-black camp quietly stood there, just like a monster crawling in the depths of a canyon. From the inside to the outside, it was filled with a wild and desolate feeling. The black market's walls were made of stone, with a deep trench dug outside, with all kinds of obstacles. There were several hundred black armored warriors holding bows and arrows, meticulously standing on the sentry towers and walls, ready to defend against the corpses at any time. Inside the camp, the stone houses were simple, scattered messily. The ground was made of crushed stones, with trash everywhere. Even the air was filled with a strange smell. The streets were filled with cultivators, all wearing different clothes, coming from different places, even different countries. The black market had no order, there were no laws. It was a true lawless place. The strong preyed on the weak, the strong were respected. Whoever was the strongest was the ruler of the black market. It was because of this, the black market was filled with fights and killings all day long. Because of this, those who dared to enter the black market all had confidence in their own strength. Otherwise, even if they were robbed on the streets, no one would sympathize. they could only blame their bad luck. It was probably because of the corpse's inexplicable riots. Today, the black market's atmosphere was especially tense. Many people were discussing this matter. Chu Tian walked around the black market, asking for information while looking for the great Zhou country's caravan. Come and see. Come and see. Fox slaves from the southern foreign countries. Their numbers are limited. This is a rare opportunity. Quickly come and see. A short and thin red-haired old man was leading several strong men, selling slaves on the side of the road. Why do these people look like monsters? Kai Dai was shocked on the spot. The red-haired old man was short, only a meter tall, but the strong men beside him were over 2 meters tall. Their bodies were covered in black fur. They looked a bit like bears. The slaves that were pulled out to be sold were even stranger. Almost all of them were female, and each of them had a hot figure. Although most of them had human characteristics, they had furry tails and fox ears. They looked strange and flirtatious, but full of exotic charm. Are these fox slaves authentic? Several merchants curiously gathered around him. You can consider yourself lucky. These fox slaves of mine were all sent from thousands of miles away, and all of them have pure bloodlines. Look at them. They have big breasts and perky buttocks, and they're also flirtatious and wantonly. They are absolutely the best quality sex toys. The red-haired old man pulled out a fox slave and tore off her bra. Try it and see how it feels. The fox clan is naturally lascivious, and these have been tamed. I guarantee that they will serve you until you wish you were dead. The fox slaves also smiled charmingly. It was simply able to hook people's souls. He didn't feel ashamed at all. The red-haired old man continued. Think about it. In places like this, even those big families don't have non-humankind servants, right? If you buy one and bring it back, no matter if it's for your own enjoyment or to serve your guests, it will definitely be enough to give you face. The merchant was tempted. How much? The red-haired old man quickly reported the price. 10 low-grade raw stones for top-grade goods, 5 low-grade raw stones for mid-grade goods, and 3 low-grade raw stones for low-grade goods. This is the first time I've seen a race other than the human race. Kaidai didn't come to the black market to shop. Rather, she came to play and gain experience. The slave traders in the black market had a mind for business. They bought ordinary human slaves from the human countries and sold them to the non-humankind countries. Then they bought non-humankind slaves from the non-humankind countries and sold them to the human countries. The price was over 100 times higher. A normal human female slave without any cultivation base in the southern Xia slave market would only be worth a few dozen gold coins. When they were sent to the non-humankind areas, the so-called rare things are expensive. Selling it for 100,000 gold coins wouldn't be too much. The black market was really like the rumors said. There were many things that couldn't be seen in the regular market: foreign race slaves, foreign race weapons, foreign specialties, etc. The continent is vast. There are hundreds of races. There's nothing strange about it. Let's hurry and find the great Zhou country's caravan. At this time, there were several passers-by talking, which aroused Chu Tian's curiosity. Hey, did you know? The ruins in the valley have been opened again. No wonder there are so many important people coming to the black market. Every time the ruins are opened, the qi in the valley will increase. You can see the corpses awakening outside. It can't be wrong. There have been many important people appearing in the camp recently. If they didn't come to search for treasures, what else could they be doing? I want to go in and try my luck. Don't think about it. Unless you have the ancient tomb token, you can't enter the 10,000 corpse ancient tomb. In the black market people's discussion, there were some secrets being revealed. The corpse valley had a very ancient ruins buried. The strange phenomenon in the valley today was most likely due to the change in the ruins energy, causing the qi in the valley to increase, causing the corpses to go berserk. This was truly a new matter. 30,000 years later, ancient ruins, secret realms, treasure troves, trial grounds, these kinds of places that could contain hidden inheritances and treasures had already been completely excavated and no longer existed. Countless things that were unearthed could not be properly protected or passed on, causing many ancient treasures to be lost to later generations. Whenever Chu Tian read the records of the legends, He would always feel his heart skip a beat, wishing he could be born in that era. Now the opportunity had come. Legendary treasures, ancient ruins, secret realms, and trial grounds. The continent was filled with them. There were many that hadn't been discovered yet. The old civilization and even the even more ancient Great Ancient Era. That was a history that was over 100 times longer than humanity. In these tens of thousands of years, humanity's level could advance by leaps and bounds. A large part of it was because of the wisdom of their predecessors. There were several epic-level treasure troves that were even recorded in the country's history books. Those hidden treasures that hadn't been excavated, sooner or later they would have a chance, but now was not the time. The ruins in the Encorpse Valley were not some great treasures that could change humanity's history, but as the ruins of an ancient sect, it was still worth exploring. Chu Tian's current cultivation was still weak. He should be able to find many useful things. Only how should he go? While Chu Tian was thinking, Xiang Hu excitedly ran over and shouted, "Found it! Found it! The Great Zhou country's caravan is here!" Finally found it. The black market planning was too disgusting. It was simply like a maze. It could make people dizzy. The Great Zhou country's caravan was stationed in a large house. The outside was filled with black flags. The gatekeepers were all wearing black clothes, wearing ghost masks, giving off a gloomy feeling. It was most likely because they practiced some kind of evil cultivation technique. There were people from all over the world in the black market. So when these strange people appeared, the three of them weren't surprised. This time, they harvested a total of 360 corpse cores. 60 low-grade ones, 200 middle-grade ones, 50-60 high-grade ones, and 1 top-grade one. Because Chu Tian had put in the most effort, he took 3/4, the other 2 divided it equally. Even so, the amount was not small. The two of them were very happy. After waiting for a moment, an old man wearing a fierce bronze ghost mask and holding an iron staff walked over. His body was stooped, he coughed twice, his voice was hoarse. "What do you want to trade for?" Xiang Hu excitedly said. "I want to trade for a weapon." The man with the bronze ghost mask opened the bag to take a look. He nodded with satisfaction. "The first room on the left, you can choose a middle-grade spirit-level weapon." The continent's equipment was divided into levels. Although the spirit weapon was the lowest level, it was still a level 1 refining material. It was refined by a refiner. It was supported by an array. Its power was amazing. A normal weapon could not compare to 1/10 of a spirit weapon. After a while, Xiang Hu excitedly ran out. His hands were carrying a wheel-sized giant axe. It was jet black. Its body was shining. It released a strong fluctuation. Ha ha ha! Several dozen corpse cores for a spirit weapon worth over 10,000 gold coins. This is too cool. With this weapon in my hand, my strength will at least double. The bronze-masked old man's eyes flashed a trace of disdain. A small country rogue cultivator, he had never seen the world. A mediocre spirit weapon. The Great Zhou country streets were full of them. Chu Tian asked Kai Dai, "What do you want to trade for?" Kai Dai revealed a trace of confusion. Her autumn water sword was a high-grade spirit weapon. She didn't lack cultivation techniques. She didn't know what to trade for. Finally, she said, "I'll trade for a pill." The bronze-masked old man lightly said, "The second room on the right. Choose for yourself." Kai Dai came out after a while. Her hands were holding a porcelain bottle. Her face was filled with joy as she said, "There's actually a beauty pill here. This treasure can't even be bought in Central State City." The beauty pill had no effect on one's cultivation. This was a pure beauty pill. Xiang Hu was stunned on the spot. Risking your life to kill the corpses, in the end you trade for a beauty pill. Kai Dai's face turned red as she said, "So what?" To a woman, appearance is very important. Chu Tian was also a bit speechless, but he wasn't surprised at all. Kai Dai's identity was a mystery. Not only did she know how to disguise herself, she also had a high-grade spirit weapon. She didn't seem to lack money or cultivation techniques. Could it be that she was the daughter of a large family? Looking for excitement, she secretly ran out to play an adventure game. Although it was hard to understand, it wasn't impossible. This kind of person's thoughts were different from normal people. Chu Tian gave the corpse core to the old man. "I want to trade for materials." The bronze-masked old man opened the bag to take a look. His eyes flashed a few times. He took out a pill from inside, carefully looking at it. It was the one he had obtained from the 100-year-old corpse. The quality isn't bad. Come with me. The bronze-masked old man personally brought Chu Tian. They walked into the first room on the right. There were a total of 600 crystal jars, neatly placed inside. Each jar had an array engraved on it, preventing the aura of the elixirs from leaking out. Inside the jars were elixirs, glowing very tempting. Chu Tian was shocked because in the room, there were elixirs that had been growing for hundreds of years. There were even some that were close to 1,000 years old. Normal herbs that had been growing for 1,000 years would become top-quality medicines. In the era that Chu Tian lived in, the continent population was 100 times that of now. In the developed area of the continent, it was hard to find a 1,000-year-old elixir. An ordinary Great Zhou country caravan running to a small country to do business. There were several hundred of them. How could he not be shocked? It could only be said, in this era, the treasures were not worth much. Chu Tian's eyes were attracted to the several jars in the center of the table. This was clearly the entire room, the most valuable elixirs. There were 3 purple fruits, the size of a fist, shaped like a baby, faintly letting out a cry. It was very different from the others. Chu Tian's body trembled. It's the infant's soul fruit. The bronze-masked old man was a little surprised. In a small country like yours, there are people that can recognize this material? Chu Tian was a little excited. Even if he didn't buy anything, just a single infant soul fruit coming to the black market was not a waste. This thing was a great help to Chu Tian. Although Chu Tian's performance was very careful, but in fact Chu Tian was a little weak because after these days of cultivation, Chu Tian found out that breaking through to the awakened soul realm was not as easy as he imagined, because this place was too lacking in resources. Chu Tian didn't have much time left. If he couldn't break through to the awakened soul realm, the consequences would be unimaginable. With the appearance of this item, it had solved his urgent problem. Actually, not only did equipment have levels, materials also had strict levels and quality levels. Levels were usually determined by their own species. The quality of the material was not only affected by the quality, but also by the age of the material. From low to high, there were herbs, elixirs, sacred herbs, immortal herbs, and godly herbs. A normal herb would become an elixir after a few hundred to 1,000 years. If it grew for over 10,000 years, a normal herb could become a sacred herb. As for immortal herbs and godly herbs, it was greatly affected by the species. If it was a normal herb, it would not be able to evolve to this level no matter how many years it took. No matter how the herb evolved, how its quality increased, its level would not change, unless the herb evolved and became a completely different kind of herb. The materials here were mostly level 1 elixirs. Only the infant soul fruit was a level 2 elixir. Even if they both grew for several hundred years, the value of a level 2 elixir was several times higher than a level 1 elixir. Level 1 elixirs were mostly used by body refinement cultivators. Level 2 elixirs were mostly used by awakened soul cultivators. Including this infant soul fruit, the value of these level 2 elixirs far exceeded any of the other herbs in the room. Chapter 66. Chu Tian's gaze stayed on the infant soul fruit for a long time. How could the bronze-masked old man not see what he was thinking? The infant soul fruit is the main ingredient for the awakened soul pill. The price of the awakened soul pill is extremely expensive. If someone at the peak of the 9th body refinement layer takes it, their chances of breaking through to the next realm will increase by around 30%. 30%? So low. That was because his alchemy skills were not good enough. With Chu Tian personally refining the awakened soul pill, he was confident that the success rate would increase by at least 80%. As long as he reached the peak of the 9th body refinement layer, with the help of this infant soul pill, he would be able to directly break through to the awakened soul realm and join the ranks of the strongest in the Central State County. It was such a great temptation. How could he not be tempted? Chu Tian knew his own limits. How precious was the infant's soul fruit? How could the few corpse cores he collected in one day be exchanged for a level 2 spiritual medicine? If elixirs were that easy to exchange, awakened soul cultivators would have participated and the great Zhou country's caravan would have already been sold. How could it be their turn? Chu Tian asked in a probing manner. What about the infant's soul fruit? The infant's soul fruit is one of the few items with the highest value among the materials brought out by the merchants this time. The bronze-masked old man took out a top-quality corpse core from his bag. It was the live ammunition that Chu Tian had obtained from killing the 100-year-old corpses. If you can collect 100 corpse cores of this quality, or a 1,000-year-old corpse monster corpse core, I can consider giving you one. 100 best-grade corpse cores, or a 1,000-year-old corpse core. Wasn't this a joke? This was practically extortion. Not to mention the difficulty of killing 100-year-old corpses. Where would he find 20 of these corpses in such a short amount of time? As for the corpse core of the 1,000-year corpse demon, there was no need to even think about it. If a 1,000-year corpse demon appeared in the chill wind canyon, perhaps the entire black market would have already been finished. Even the nearby cities, and even the main cities, would be affected. Was the 1,000-year corpse demon so easy to deal with? Although a level 2 rare spirit herb was valuable, asking for a corpse demon's corpse core was a little too much. Chu Tian did not want to give up. Once he missed this opportunity, he might not have it again. I can't take out other corpse cores, but I can add 500,000 gold coins to buy an infant's soul fruit. Oomph. The bronze-masked old man coldly snorted. Chu Tian felt a chill in his heart. An invisible pressure instantly enveloped his body. The bronze-masked old man was clearly unhappy. A small country's low-class currency. Do you think our great Zhou country's caravan will accept it? Don't waste my time. Choose quickly. As expected, Chu Tian's starting bid was 500,000 gold coins. If it was anyone else, they would be shocked. Level 2 elixirs were very precious. 500,000 gold coins was definitely enough. But this bronze-masked old man from the great Zhou country was not interested at all. Instead, he was a bit impatient. Helpless. The bronze-masked old man's cultivation was not much weaker than Nangongyi's. Chu Tian couldn't force him to buy or sell, right? If he accidentally angered him, he wouldn't have a good ending. Then, let's exchange it for a source spirit fruit. The bronze-masked old man's figure flashed. Chu Tian didn't even see it clearly. The crystal jar fell into his palm. A hoarse voice sounded in his ear. You can leave now. Chu Tian reluctantly looked at the dozens of materials on the table. Other than the precious infant soul fruit, the other materials were also very precious. They were all over 1,000 years old. Chu Tian gave a soft sigh. He left in a depressed manner. Kai Dai saw Chu Tian walk out. You want to exchange it for a source spirit fruit? Chu Tian was curious. What? You recognize this material? Kai Dai casually said, I've eaten a lot of them, but they don't taste good at all. The source spirit fruit was an elixir that could directly increase one's cultivation. If it appeared in the Central State auction house, it could be sold for at least 30 to 50,000 gold coins. How could Kai Dai eat it as a snack? Even if the source spirit fruit was not used as medicine, directly eating it would still increase one's cultivation. Kai Dai's cultivation was not high. Why was that? Chu Tian secretly opened his mind's eye, looking at Kai Dai. Kai Dai's body indeed had a large amount of spiritual energy. It was clear she had eaten large amounts of heaven and earth treasures since she was young. It was reasonable to say that her cultivation should not be like this. Chu Tian carefully observed. He immediately found the problem. Kai Dai had a natural defect. Her meridians were blocked. Her acupuncture points were blocked. She could not absorb spiritual energy. A person with this kind of physique, it was reasonable to say that it was not worth raising, because the resources spent on Kai Dai, it was enough to raise several awakened soul cultivators. Even so, Kai Dai still obtained a large amount of resources, forcibly raising her cultivation to the 9th body refinement layer. This was enough to show that her family was very strong. Kai Dai was also deeply doted on by her father. Her background was not simple. Kai Dai's face turned red. What are you staring at me for? Is there something strange on my face? Nothing. Chu Tian did not have any interest in digging up Kai Dai's identity. I plan on using the source spirit fruit to refine pills. I'm currently lacking a few supplementary materials. The black market does not seem to accept gold coins. I plan on exchanging them for source stones. Do you know where I can exchange them? Gold coins were a low-level currency used in small countries. Source stones were a kind of source energy crystal, widely used in cultivation, weapon refining, and alchemy. It was recognized as a hard currency by most places on the continent. The price of source stones is very expensive. The exchange rate of low-grade source stones to gold coins is around 10,000. The source stone merchants in the black market are very black-hearted. They even raise the price of source stones by several times. Exchanging for source stones here is too much of a loss. Chu Tian knit his brows. But this place only accepts source stones. No need to worry. I'll lend you 10 low-grade source stones first. Kai Dai dug into her pocket, taking out a sparkling crystal stone. Take it. 10 low-grade source stones was equivalent to 100,000 gold coins, or even more. This prodigal woman did not even blink, giving it away. Chu Tian asked with a strange expression, "You're so straightforward. Aren't you afraid I won't pay you back?" Kai Dai gave a free and easy smile. "You're not that kind of person. Moreover, you saved my life, so what if I give you some source stones? You don't need to be polite. Just take it." Chu Tian found that he could not see through this woman more and more. "You clearly don't lack anything. Why did you come to a dangerous place like the Een Corpse Valley?" Kai Dai's brows knit together, revealing a melancholy expression. She only sighed, but did not answer. Kai Dai did not seem to be a rich family's young miss looking for excitement. She left her family and ran here. Most likely she had some difficulties. She did not want to say it. Chu Tian was also too lazy to ask. "I never like to take advantage of people." Chu Tian took out 10 crystal cards. "Each one here has 10,000 gold coins. Take it." I really couldn't see it." Kai Dai curiously looked at the seemingly ordinary youth in front of her. "You're also deeply hidden." 100,000 gold coins was not a small number. A person that could easily take out this much money. He must not be a simple person. Chu Tian received the source stones. It was much easier to buy things. In the shortest time, he could buy all the materials he needed, spending a total of 3 low-grade source stones. The things in the black market, although the price was high, the quality was not bad. Chu Tian rented a room. First, he arranged a simple array in the room to prevent his aura from leaking out while he was in seclusion. Then, he set up the pill furnace and used the source spirit fruit as the main ingredient to refine a source spirit pill. The source spirit pill was a very strong pill. It was enough to make a breakthrough to the peak 8th body refinement layer. The moment Chu Tian swallowed the source spirit pill, his spirit energy surged out, instantly covering his whole body. He felt like he was thrown into a furnace. The white spirit energy flowed around his body. It was like a white flame was burning. When Chu Tian absorbed the source spirit pill, he could clearly feel that his strength had greatly increased, very easily stepping into the 9th body refinement layer, the same as Kai Dai, Xiang Hu, and the others. At this time, from the depths of his soul, he suddenly felt a throbbing. This feeling was very subtle, like a breath, like a pulse, like a new life was being born in the placenta of his soul, finally gradually awakening. What's going on? Isn't the birth of a source spirit at the peak 9th body refinement layer? Why do I have this kind of feeling when I just stepped into the 9th body refinement layer? This kind of feeling was very strange, like an ancient power calling out to him. Chu Tian was not unfamiliar with it. His source spirit was about to be born. At this time, an intense pain erupted from the depths of his soul. Like a volcano that had been gestating for thousands of years suddenly erupting. The soul was like a mother's placenta. The source spirit was the fetus that was being bred. The birth of a source spirit was like the birth of a fetus. It was extremely painful. If one didn't personally experience it, there would be no words to describe it. This kind of pain surpassed any senses. It was a kind of soul-breaking pain. Fuck, why is it so painful? Father's previous life wasn't like this. Chu Tian clenched his teeth. His forehead was already covered in sweat. the birth of a source spirit. Unexpectedly, it was so difficult. It was simply like a mother's dystocia. Once the birth of a source spirit failed, the opportunity to break through would be lost. Even if there was a second breakthrough in the future, the potential of the source spirit would be greatly reduced. He had to endure it. If he couldn't even endure this little bit of suffering, then how could he talk about pursuing his dreams? How could he talk about achieving his ambitions? Breaking through the barrier of life. The difficulty would be thousands of times more difficult than this. There was no reason for Chu Tian to fall here. Release. Erupt. Be born. Chu Tian gave a low roar. A large amount of ancient runes appeared around his body. It was like an ancient demon god imprint. It was filled with an ancient and powerful aura. A surging aura condensed in his body. Countless runes also gathered together. This aura was already unstoppable. That incomparably terrifying aura mightily surged out, spreading out for thousands of miles. In an instant, rays of light shot out. Above Chu Tian's body, two vague illusions appeared. One of them was the vague image of a demon god. The other was a pitch-black ancient demon sword. The moment Chu Tian's source spirit was born, the entire world underwent a shocking change. The entire southern Xia, even the entire continent, was shocked by this inconceivable aura. Chapter 67. Dark clouds covered the Corpse Canyon. Wild winds blew, lightning flashed, and thunder roared. A chilling, killing intent filled the entire world, as if an ancient spiritual god was about to descend. Hong, hong, hong. The earth violently shook. The entire black market was covered in a strong pressure. The bronze-masked old man in the small courtyard looked up at the sky, his face filled with shock as he shouted, "What is going on? Southern Xia is a trivial small country. This strength is..." In the center of the camp, a gray-haired, middle-aged man, carrying a sword on his back, opened his eyes in surprise. This ancient aura is... Could it be that some old monster from the corpse tomb has awakened? No, impossible. Even if it's those old monsters, they can't release such a strong aura. Lightning filled the sky. The earthquakes continued. The mountain peaks on both sides of the canyon were constantly being shaken. Countless boulders fell down. Countless wandering corpses, as if they had met their mortal enemy. They all fell to the ground, shivering in fear. Everyone was shocked when they saw this scene. Corpses did not have any intelligence. They were monsters that relied purely on instinct. Just what kind of existence could make the corpses act like this? This was just the beginning. That vast divine might suddenly soared into the sky, as if it wanted to pierce through the heavens, into the endless starry sky. Imperial City. A man wearing a yellow robe opened his eyes, looking in the direction of the Central State County. There is a phenomenon in the sky. Something incredible has appeared. A certain sect, an old man that was in seclusion, suddenly trembled. A trace of blood leaked from the corner of his mouth. This ancient pressure. Just what is it? Inside an ancient palace. A purple-robed figure like a demon god was floating in the air. His body was surrounded by 9 majestic golden dragons. When he felt this pressure, his face twisted, as if he could not resist it. No, this is not right. This power should not appear in this time and space. Just what kind of monster is this? Southern continent, elven forest. A beautiful elven king looked up at the sky. His eyes were as bright as the sun and moon. In the human territory, the human race is flourishing. It seems like another terrifying person will appear. In the endless void, a giant ship made of bones was slowly moving forward. This giant ship was incomparably large. It was comparable to a kingdom. Countless powerful beings were prostrating on the ground, worshipping a monarch who stood in the shadows. Suddenly, the Shadow King opened his eyes. His gaze seemed to be able to pierce through time and space, grasping the entire world within. This inheritance seems to have appeared too early. Fate has already been disturbed. The moment his source spirit was born, the whole world was shaken. In just a few minutes, the phenomenon disappeared without a trace. Chu Tian had no idea how big of a sensation he had brought to the world. When everything was over, he lay on the floor, soaked in sweat, as if he had just been fished out of the water. It's actually dual source spirits. Chu Tian awakened 2 source spirits this time. The first source spirit looked very strange. From the outline, it was a pitch-black humanoid shape that released an ancient and mysterious aura. It was his source spirit. Although he had transmigrated, his soul remained intact. Chu Tian still had the power of his previous life's source spirit. That was great. What Chu Tian never thought was that other than his source spirit awakening, he would also obtain a supplementary source spirit. It looked like a blurry treasure sword. This sword was pitch black, and there were faint, profound runes on it. It was probably because of the main source spirit's influence. This supplementary source spirit also had an ancient aura to it. It was like the great ancient era, when chaos began, the heaven and earth gave birth to a demon god's sword. Demon god's sword. I'll call this source spirit this name. It wasn't that there weren't people with dual source spirits on the continent, but they were very, very rare. Chu Tian had coincidentally obtained this body. Under the control of a single consciousness, it had 2 souls, so it gave birth to 2 source spirits. Central states, Chu family was famous for their sword spirits. Chu Tian's body came from the Chu family, so he had the bloodline of the Chu family. It wasn't strange for his second source spirit to be a sword. Only, this sword spirit had been affected by the main source spirit, and its nature had greatly changed. The quality of the source spirit surpassed that of any member of the Chu family. It was comparable to Nangong Yun's god-level fire phoenix source spirit. A supplementary source spirit was already this strong. How strong would the main source spirit be? Chu Tian had relied on his blessed source spirit in the past, so in a short period of time, he had become the youngest great sage on the continent. But because the main source spirit was too shocking, in order to not cause trouble, the main source spirit had to be hidden as much as possible. Now that he had a second source spirit to support him, as long as Chu Tian didn't deliberately use it, no one would be able to see what his source spirit was. A sword spirit couldn't avoid the path of a sword cultivator. Chu Tian needed to find a good sword and also needed a good sword art. A sword was easy to find, but a sword art was hard. Chu Tian didn't use a sword before, so he wasn't interested in cultivation techniques. So he couldn't bring back a suitable cultivation technique from the future. He could only slowly search for it in this era. After a full day of rest, his strength had recovered a bit. Something bad has happened. Kai Dai anxiously rushed in. Quickly run. What happened? Kai Dai explained. Bai Zimo's body was found by his brother, and Xiang, who was taken away. If you don't run now, it'll be too late. Chu Tian was stunned. What will you guys do? Kai Dai shook her head and said, I'm fine. There are many people in the camp. If I bring out my family, they won't dare make a move against me in front of everyone. Quickly run. I'll think of a way to save Xiang Hu. He was killed by me. He should find me for revenge. Don't implicate Xiang Hu in you. You're crazy. Bai Zilong is only at the first awakened soul layer. First awakened soul layer? This was a bit troublesome, but with his current strength, he didn't need to fear him. I'll go take a look. Chu Tian ignored Kai Dai's obstruction and went to the center of the black market. A tall and sturdy man was hung up. His hands and feet were broken. His body was covered in blood, looking miserable. Xiang Hu's eyes widened as he angrily roared. He was killed by me. By Zimo, that villain. So what if father killed him? Ha! A whip lashed out. A piece of Xiang Hu's flesh was ripped off. A 30-year-old youth coldly said, Do you think I'm an idiot? With your trash strength, you think you can kill Bai Zimo? This is simply a joke. Just who did it? Quickly say it. Otherwise, I'll cripple your cultivation. Cripple his cultivation? Everyone's face changed. For cultivators, cultivation was simply the root of their lives. If their cultivation was crippled, then there was no meaning in living. Xiang Hu secretly thought that he would not be able to escape today. He gritted his teeth and said, I will take responsibility for my own actions. It was done by me. Good. You're just being stubborn. When Bai Zilong was about to send out a palm. Stop. A normal-looking youth walked out. Xiang Hu's face changed. You. Who are you? I don't know you. Even if father dies, I will still be a man of indomitable spirit. Stop making fun of father. Quickly scram. Scram. Bai Zilong was not stupid. He coldly stared at Chu Tian. Who are you? Chu Tian did not waste any words. Bai Zima was killed by me. Bai Zilong's face changed. What? You killed him. That's right. It was me. Chu Tian laughed and said, killed with one slash like slaughtering a pig or a dog. Killed with one slash like slaughtering a pig or a dog. What kind of disdain and insult was this? Once these words were said, Bai Zilong's face turned red. With a clear eagle cry, the white eagle source spirit appeared, directly sending out 2 white chi blades, seeking death. Chu Tian's entire body was covered in starlight. Pum-pum. Chu Tian was knocked back a few steps, his brows knit together as he rubbed his chest. Looking at the blood on his palm, he shook his head and said, "It hurts a lot. My defense isn't strong enough." Everyone had an expression like they had seen a ghost. Fuck, this isn't considered strong. Bai Zilong is an awakened soul cultivator. You're at most in the 9th body refinement layer. Taking 2 attacks from an awakened soul cultivator and you're not heavily injured. What else do you want? Bai Zilong grinned. Good. You really have the ability to kill my little brother. Xiang Hu and Kai Dai were both shocked. How did Chu Tian's strength become this strong? Bai Zilong's 2 attacks were much stronger than the 100-year corpse. He was a genuine awakened soul cultivator. I've been looking for you everywhere. Bai Zilong's voice was cold to the bone. I never thought that you would take the initiative to deliver yourself to me. If I don't cut you into 1,000 pieces today, I won't be able to resolve the hatred in my heart. There have been many people who have said similar things recently. I'm still alive today. Chu Tian's face was filled with disdain as he said, I'm afraid you don't have the ability. Die. Bai Zilong soared into the air, just like an eagle, with a terrifying momentum. He suddenly swooped down, his hands turned into giant eagle claws. With a terrifying momentum, he charged at Chu Tian. Mind's eye, glass body. Chu Tian directly displayed his strongest battle state. I'll break your arms first. Bai Zilong's claws heavily fell on Chu Tian's shoulders. The starlight condensed white glass armor, instantly shattered like fragile glass. It had to be said, Bai Zilong was really strong. Chu Tian's strength had increased by a layer, and his spirit energy had increased by several folds. The starlight immortal body's defensive power had also increased by several folds. There was no method under the awakened soul realm that could break through Chu Tian's defense. He never thought that it would be easily torn apart by Bai Zilong. The awakened soul realm was really strong. Scram. With the help of his mind's eye, Chu Tian grasped the weakness of Bai Zilong's protective spirit energy. The moment his right fist punched out, Chu Tian released the power of his source spirit. A black sword image came out from his fist, fiercely stabbing into Bai Zilong's body, coming out from his back. Poochie. Blood sprayed out. Bai Zilong was pierced on the spot. Chu Tian sent Bai Zilong flying with a kick. Bai Zilong revealed a look of disbelief, spitting out several mouthfuls of blood, spitting out pieces of his organs. Finally, he powerlessly fell to the ground, dead. One move to kill an awakened soul realm cultivator. Chu Tian did not have it easy. Both of his shoulders had deep wounds. He only used one move on the surface, but it was actually his strongest move. It was also based on Bai Zilong underestimating him. If he did not kill Bai Zilong in one move, Chu Tian would have faced the danger of being defeated. Bai Zilong was a genius. Perhaps he was stronger than a normal first awakened soul layer cultivator. Kai Dai's bright eyes turned round. She couldn't help covering her mouth. She had already guessed that Chu Tian was strong, but she never thought that he would be able to kill an awakened soul cultivator. Bai Zilong was killed like this? The surrounding black market staff were all shocked. Bai Zilong had been in the black market for a while. He was still a character. He unexpectedly died like this. Chu Tian searched the body. He found 3 low-grade source stones, several gold coin cards, and a strange jade token. There were several complex origin energy arrays embedded in this token, and there was a faint fluctuation of restriction coming from them. What is this? Chu Tian did not think too much about it. He casually put it into his chest. Xiang, whose injuries were too heavy, he had already fainted. Chu Tian quickly said to Kai Dai, "Quickly save him." The two of them carried Xiang Hu into the room. Chu Tian carefully examined Xiang Hu's body. Xiang Hu's bones and meridians were all heavily injured. His injuries were very serious. If it was not treated properly, there would be serious repercussions. Bai Zilong was really ruthless. Chu Tian spent a few source stones. He bought some herbs for Xiang Hu, refining several medicines. This stabilized Xiang Hu's injuries. His life was temporarily not in danger. But because his injuries were too heavy, he still needed to rest for 10 days. At this time, a strong aura came. A low voice came from outside the door. "Little friend, can you come out and talk?" Kai Dai felt this voice was very familiar. She remembered, it's the Great Zhou country's bronze-masked old man. What is he doing here? Chapter 68. The bronze-masked old man's cultivation was very deep. Even compared to Nangong, it was not much worse. Chu Tian defeating Bai Zilong. There was a certain element of luck. If it was an awakened soul cultivator like the bronze-masked old man, he wouldn't even have a chance of winning. The bronze-masked old man came to visit for no reason. They had no choice but to be on guard. But thinking about it, the bronze-masked old man was very strong. If he really wanted to make a move against him, there wouldn't be many people in the black market camp that could stop him. So why bother with this nonsense? When the two of them opened the door, the bronze-masked old man was standing in the courtyard. His body was stooped. He held an iron staff in his hand. He looked ordinary, but he gave off an unfathomable feeling. The bronze-masked old man's eyes flashed with a bright light. 9th body refinement layer, but able to kill an awakened soul cultivator. This is an extremely rare case in the Great Zhou country. This old man was neglectful a few days ago. Please do not take it to heart. Senior, you're exaggerating. What can I do for you? I don't dare to teach you anything. I just feel that it's a pity for you to stay in southern Xia. Why don't you go to the Dazhou Nation? I'll recommend you to join the Dazhou Nation. With your talent, I'll definitely nurture you to the best of my abilities. Thank you for your kindness, Senior. Chu Tian frowned and refused tactfully. But I have many worries in the secular world. If I leave rashly, it will affect my mental state and cause my cultivation to be obstructed. The bronze-masked old man was an external affairs elder. He was only responsible for traveling and managing the sex business. These words were just a casual remark. There wasn't much sincerity. All right, everyone has their own ambitions. I won't force you. The bronze-masked old man's tone changed. After the polite words were said, he began to reveal his true purpose. But this old man wants to invite you to participate in an operation. I wonder if you are interested. What operation? 1,000 Corpses Ancient Tomb. Chu Tian had heard some related rumors when he arrived at the black market. There used to be a powerful sect here. They awakened the Yin corpses and formed a Yin corpse army, once ruling over an area. A few thousand years ago, the sect suffered a drastic change and suddenly collapsed. However, the place where the corpses were raised and refined was left behind. It was most likely the 10,000 Corpses Ancient Tomb. This old man isn't trying to harm me, right? It was an ancient tomb that had been sealed for thousands of years. Who knew what kind of terrifying existence was sleeping there? It wouldn't be strange if he encountered a 1,000-year corpse demon. The bronze-masked old man guessed Chu Tian's concerns. The 10,000 Corpse Tomb is a forbidden area of the ancient sects. In order to prevent the Yin corpses from rebelling, there is always an array suppressing it. No matter how old the Yin corpses are, as long as they are in the ancient tomb, their battle strength will be suppressed to below the awakened soul realm. You don't need to worry about meeting an existence you cannot defeat. Chu Tian was still a little suspicious. He was not a man who trusted others easily. After all, Chu Tian was not an ordinary young man. He knew very well that a person's heart was sinister. so he had to be on his guard. Kai quietly said, I've heard that the ancient tomb's restrictions are very strong. Not only will the Een corpses be suppressed, but all the cultivators that enter the ancient tomb will be suppressed. All of them will be suppressed to below the awakened soul realm. Therefore, in the ancient tomb, one can only display the strength of the body, refinement realm. Really? This was getting interesting. Chu Tian stroked his chin, not in a hurry to make a decision. Under the restrictions of the ancient tomb, it was useless no matter how strong one was. As long as one entered the ancient tomb, one's combat strength would be suppressed to the body refinement realm. For a cultivator like Chu Tian who could jump ranks to fight, he could take advantage of the ancient tomb. Even if it was an awakened soul realm cultivator from the outside world, in the ancient tomb, they could not use their source spirit. Most of them would not be able to defeat Chu Tian. Chu Tian asked, What do you want me to do? Cooperation. The bronze-masked old man replied, I want something from the ancient tomb. As long as you help me get this thing, you can ask for any conditions. Chu Tian asked, What do you want? The bronze-masked old man's eyes flashed. A corpse king corpse core. Chu Tian sucked in a cold breath. A corpse king needed at least several thousand years to form. If a corpse king was released to the outside world, it was enough to sweep away any awakened soul cultivator. The bronze-masked old man had a big tone. He actually wanted to enter the ancient tomb to kill a corpse king. The bronze-masked old man said, Even if it is a corpse king, sealed in the ancient tomb, its strength is suppressed to the awakened soul realm. However, the corpse king's background is deep. Even if it is sealed, it is not easy to deal with. Your strength is enough to deal with an awakened soul realm cultivator. The people I brought are all geniuses that can jump ranks to fight. If we work together, I think it should be enough. Chu Tian began to weigh the risks. The corpse king was not easy to deal with. This level of monster, it already had intelligence. It could cultivate an evil cultivation technique. Even if it was sealed, Chu Tian did not have the confidence to win. How can I trust you? I'm a cultivator. I'm also a merchant. This is not my first time coming to southern Xia. It will not be my last. The bronze-masked old man said with a serious face. My reputation has been built up over many years. I do not need to lie to you. Reputation? Hey, if father believed in a thing like reputation, it would be better to believe that the prostitutes in the brothel were all virgins. The bronze-masked old man saw Chu Tian hesitate. He immediately increased his bargaining chip. Whether it is done or not, I can give you an infant soul fruit. The infant soul fruit was something he urgently needed. The bronze-masked old man's condition. Chu Tian could not help but be moved. One infant soul fruit is not enough. I want all three. All right. Chu Tian continued to say to the bronze-masked old man, Everything in the ancient tomb. I want to take half. The bronze-masked old man's eyes changed. Don't you think you're taking too much? Chu Tian lightly said, Capable people do more work. It's a matter of heaven and earth. I don't think that under the awakened soul realm, you can beat me. Such a bold brat. How many years has it been since someone dared speak to me like this? Although Chu Tian won a lot, the more it was like this, the more the bronze-masked old man could feel Chu Tian's confidence. Now the sect master urgently needed the Corpse King Corpse Core to break through his bottleneck. If he could obtain the Corpse King Corpse Core this time, it would undoubtedly be a great contribution to the sect. Other harvests. It was not that important. The bronze-masked old man thought about it for a few minutes before giving his reply. All right, we'll split the spoils in half. The bronze-masked old man's background was unknown. But Chu Tian did not want to miss a good opportunity. The bronze-masked old man took out a token from his chest. You've already obtained by Zilong's ancient tomb token. I have another token. This time, you can bring one more person. You can choose for yourself. I don't know anyone here. I'll give this token to you. Chu Tian gave the token to Kai Dai. That place is very dangerous. You have to think about it yourself. I'll go. Of course I'll go. Kai Dai never thought she would have the chance to go on an adventure. She was a person with an adventurous spirit. She didn't even think about it before agreeing. Chu Tian chose an average strength companion. The bronze-masked old man couldn't help feeling disappointed, but he didn't say anything. After all the token was given to Chu Tian, he could bring whoever he wanted. Yesterday, the heaven and earth phenomenon shook the canyon seal. This caused the 10,000 corpse ancient tomb to open ahead of time. This matter cannot be delayed. We need to prepare a bit and then immediately set off to avoid others beating us to it. Good. The 10,000 corpse ancient tomb had an unknown amount of history. The ancient sect was destroyed several thousand years ago. The ancient tomb had at least several thousand years of history. This was a forbidden area of the sect. Most likely, there were many treasures buried here. Chu Tian was not a person who was afraid of challenges, not to mention this kind of high-reward adventure. Because the ancient tomb opened ahead of time, there was no time to prepare. Chu Tian and Kai Dai took care of the seriously injured Xiang, who they immediately went to meet up with the bronze-masked old man. The bronze-masked old man brought two subordinates. The two of them were very tall, wearing tight robes. They also wore masks. One of them had a flame mask, the other had an ice mask. This is called Flame Ghost. This is called Ice Demon. The two of them are twin brothers. They are the juniors that the sect is focusing on. This time they came out to temper themselves. The bronze-masked old man introduced the two of them. Chu Tian could feel that the two of them had strong auras. They were both first awakened soul layer cultivators. Their battle strength should be similar to Bai Zilong's. Although he couldn't see their appearances with their masks, they didn't seem too old, truly worthy of being a great Zhou country sect. The two juniors were both awakened soul cultivators. The Flame Ghost brothers didn't seem to like talking. They just lightly looked at Chu Tian. Although Chu Tian's cultivation base wasn't high, but the matter of him killing Bai Zilong, the two of them had heard of him, so they didn't dare look down on him. Let's go. The five of them left the camp. On the way, they met countless corpses. There were several hundred-year-old corpses, but with a super expert like the bronze-masked old man, as well as Flame Ghost and Ice Demon. These corpses weren't a threat at all. They were taken care of in 2-3 moves. The five of them arrived at the ruins of the ancient sect. This is where the sect used to be. Kai Dai was very curious as she looked around. Truly spectacular. Before this sect was destroyed, it must have been very strong. A deep depression, Qi filled the air. It was incomparably oppressive. The ground was filled with broken walls. There were several hundred-meter-tall cliffs on the left and right. There were giant caves, densely packed. There were several thousand of them. They were spread out over several dozen miles. Every cave had a hideous demon statue. Several thousand cave statues. Not a single one was the same. Each statue was 100 meters tall. They looked majestic and evil, making people feel oppressed. A giant palace silently stood in the depths of the ruins. Half of the palace was outside. The other half was buried in the mountain. It was surrounded by an evil fog, filled with an evil and death aura. So. Countless cultivators rushed over, jumping into the palace. This was obviously the entrance to the 10,000 corpse ancient tomb. The bronze-masked old man brought the four of them into the palace. The main hall was very spacious. In the center, there was a 100-meter-tall demon statue. The demon statue looked very fierce. Not only was it ugly, it also had 8 arms. Around 100 cultivators had arrived. They were scattered around the statue, sitting on the pillars, silently waiting for the ancient tomb to open. The bronze-masked old man brought Chu Tian's group. They also jumped onto a jade pillar, sitting down to rest. A strong, bald man sneered. "Isn't this the bronze-masked old man? Our southern Xia ruins. The great Zhou country wants a piece of the pie?" A middle-aged man stood up with an unkind expression. This person was also a person from the black market. He had been alarmed by Chu Tian's strange phenomenon. Giant spirit scholar Yang Kuan, Wind swordsman Wan Wui. The bronze-masked old man's eyes swept over the two of them. His eyes flashed a trace of fear. "Heaven and earth's treasures. Only those with ability can have them. You can come. Why can't I?" Kai Dai's face couldn't help changing. "Yang Kuan, Wan Wui?" Chu Tian curiously asked, "You know them?" Kai Dai slightly nodded. These two are Central State's most famous rogue cultivators. Their strength is very profound. My father wanted to recruit them as retainers, but he didn't succeed. Chu Tian's sword-like eyebrows slightly jumped. He wasn't shocked by their strength. The giant spirit scholar, the Yin swordsman, these two were obviously not good people. Kai Dai's father actually dared to recruit them as retainers? What kind of sacred being was her father? The bald giant Yang Kuan laughed and said, "Good. Only those with ability can have them." It said that the ancient tomb has a corpse soldier that has been refined. Whoever obtains the corpse soldier will be able to run amok. Yang Kuan want it. The middle-aged man coldly said, "Corpse soldier? Not interested. I want the netherworld sword. Whoever dares steal it from me, I'll take their life." Ha ha ha. A burst of clear laughter came from outside. That voice was far and near. It was obviously a person with a high cultivation base. The ancient tomb hasn't even opened, yet you're already dividing the treasures. Aren't you afraid of being laughed at? This was clearly a woman, although her voice was very pleasant to hear. It was a bit sharp. Moreover, her tone was very arrogant. It was not something a woman should have. The Yin swordsman angrily said, "Who is it?" Countless flashes of lightning, like tens of thousands of snakes, suddenly jumped into the main hall. Everyone was scared out of their wits. Countless flashes of lightning condensed in the middle of the main hall, gradually turning into a purple figure. This was a purple-robed woman, around 20 years old, wearing a purple veil, her skin sparkling like jade, different from Kai Dai's lightness, different from Nangong Yun's fiery straightforwardness, not like Meng Qingwu's dignified nobility, not like Meng Yingying's naive cuteness. This was a kind of untamed rebellion, like recklessly galloping lightning, unrestrained, unfathomable, willful, strong, and overbearing. Isn't this one the central state for young masters? The purple lightning young master Yunyao. Oh damn, how come she's here? The competition is getting more and more intense. Kai Dai explained in a low voice. The central state four young masters are the most shocking geniuses of a younger generation. The heavenly sword young master Chu Xing'a is ranked first. The purple lightning young master Yunyao is at the bottom. She is the only female among the four young masters. But Yunyao is also very strong. She has an extremely rare thunder source spirit. She can control thunder and lightning. She has a very terrifying destructive power. Wan Wui knit his brows and said, "You're not staying in Central State City. What are you doing here?" Yun Yao disdainfully looked at him. "Even the scoundrels can come. Why can't I?" Wan Wui flew into a rage. "What did you say?" Yun Yao's body was covered in lightning. "What? You're not convinced? How about we compete?" The Central State four young masters were no small matter. Each one of them were shocking geniuses. Since they were young, they had been trained by their families. Jumping levels to challenge them was as simple as drinking water. Wan Wui was very angry, but he did not make a move. "Humph! I came to the ancient tomb to search for treasures. I won't bother with a junior like you." Yun Yao gave a disdainful snort. "No guts." Wan Wui's face sank. He pretended not to hear. At this time, Yin Yao suddenly walked over, looking at Chu Tian and the others sitting on the pillar. "Your positions are mine. Scram!" Chu Tian clenched his fists. This woman was going too far. Nangong Yun's temper was not good. Nangong Yun at least valued loyalty and reason. But this woman only did things her own way. It seemed like she did not put anyone in her eyes. Since the purple lightning young master likes to sit here, we'll give it to her. The bronze-masked old man did not want to fight with this person. It was not that he was afraid of her. After all, this was Southern Xia. The Yun family still had some strength. Flame Ghost, Ice Demon, and the bronze-masked old man all retreated. Yin Yao saw that Chu Tian did not move. Her body immediately flashed with lightning. "You still haven't left. Do you want me to send you off?" Kai Dai was also very afraid of Yin Yao. She pulled Chu Tian and said in his ear, "A hero doesn't fight when the odds are against him. Let's go." Yin Yao's cultivation base was at least triple awakened soul. Chu Tian could not beat her. Kai Dai was right. Don't fight when the odds are against him. There would always be a chance to get back at him. The bronze-masked old man's group moved out of the way. Yun Yao casually sat on the pillar. She deliberately looked at Chu Tian with a provocative gaze. She arrogantly said, "You stinky men, all of you are spineless. With just this little bit of courage, you dare compete with me for the ancient tomb's treasures? You haven't even grown your hair yet you dare try your luck. You might as well go back and drink your milk." The bronze-masked old man's eyes became very dignified. He had thought that by recruiting a genius like Chu Tian, this treasure hunting trip would be 90% in the bag. But now it seemed like it wouldn't be that easy. The giant spirit scholar, the Wind swordsman, the bronze-masked old man, and the purple lightning young master. These four were all extremely powerful characters. Who knew if there were any other powerful characters hidden in the crowd? The difficulty of this treasure hunt would not be low. Chu Tian looked at the purple, lightning young master with a depressed expression. "You arrogant little girl, you dare to bully your brother Tian. Just you wait, don't let me see you in the ancient tomb, otherwise I'll teach you a lesson." Chapter 69. The giant spirit scholar, the Wind swordsman, the bronze-masked old man, and the purple lightning young master. They were all extremely powerful characters. The cultivators that came to explore the ruins all had a bit of confidence in themselves. Therefore, after entering the 10,000 corpse ancient tomb, not only did they have to face the ancient tomb's restrictions, traps, and monsters, they also had to guard against cultivators plotting against each other. The 10,000 corpse ancient tomb was a dangerous environment. No one could predict what would happen inside. The difficulty of this treasure hunt would not be low. Kai-Dai followed by Chu Tian's side. She comforted him in a low voice. "Lu Run, don't be angry. Yun Yao is not an ordinary person. Her background is very big. You can't afford to offend her." Chu Tian had a relaxed smile on his face. He didn't seem to care about what just happened. "No need to worry. My mind is very clear. I know what I should do." Kai-Dai felt relieved hearing this. Although she hadn't known this young man for a long time, Kai-Dai could feel his style. This person was wild to the bone, so she was afraid he would do something stupid. Yun Yao was born in the Central State Yun family. The Central State, four great families, Chu, Luo, Yi, and Yun. None of them were good people. Going against the purple lightning young master for a small matter, it was too irrational. Even if he wasn't killed by Yun Yao, offending this large family, he wouldn't have a good life in the future. Kai-Dai didn't think that. Chu Tian was not afraid of trouble. He had already offended 3 of the 4 great families. One more Yin family didn't matter. One less Yin family didn't matter. Around 2 hours later, the main hall began to shake. The 8-armed demon statue in the middle of the main hall suddenly slowly opened its eyes. A vast and powerful aura soared into the sky. Everyone's spirits were aroused. It was finally here. The 8-armed demon opens its eyes. The 10,000 corpse tomb opens. The bronze-masked old man had been waiting for this moment. He immediately stood up. "Everyone will work together to open the passage. As for the treasures in the ancient tomb, whoever has the ability can take it. What do you guys think?" The purple lightning young master Yun Yao snorted. "What are we waiting for? Hurry up and do it." Several of the cultivators with the highest cultivation began to release their origin force at the same time. They only felt a weak vibration coming from the ground, and countless runes began to glow like snakes. Like a spider web, they crawled in all directions and gathered at the end of the hall. There was a 10-meter-tall beast head embedded in the wall of the main hall. The originally metallic beast head suddenly seemed to come alive. Its eyes emitted a red glow, and its huge mouth opened bit by bit. A bottomless purple tunnel appeared in the beast's mouth. An ancient death aura slowly spread out. The ancient tomb had been opened. All the cultivators cheered. The colossal spirit householder was the most anxious. He held the ancient tomb token in his hand and directly walked in. In an instant, he was swept up by the purple light and disappeared without a trace. The ancient tomb is open. Everyone, charge. Everyone walked into the light gate. The bronze-masked old man looked at Chu Tian and said, "This is the ancient tomb's transport portal. Once we enter this door, We will randomly appear in the first floor of the ancient tomb. Chu Tian frowned. Random teleportation? That's right, random transfer. The bronze-masked old man paused before continuing. The first floor of the ancient tomb is the Abyss of Death. Chu Tian asked, "What kind of place is the Abyss of Death?" From the information we have, the Abyss of Death's astral winds are very strong. The longer you stay here, the easier it is to be attacked by the astral winds. You have to be careful, don't get blown into the abyss, otherwise you'll never come back. The Abyss of Death's difficulty is average, but there will often be temptations that are hard to resist. Remember, no matter how tempting it is, don't try to get it. Chu Tian remembered this. After you pass through the Abyss of Death, you will enter the second floor, the Wraith Palace. The Wraith Palace will be attacked by evil spirits. The level of danger is average, but the ancient tomb has been opened several times in recent years. Many weak cultivators have died inside. The souls of the cultivators that died did not scatter. After turning into wraith, they will be filled with resentment towards the cultivators that came to search for treasures, so the level of danger has increased. Kai Dai knit her brows. She was clearly worried. How do we deal with this floor? The bronze-masked old man said, "Don't be greedy for the treasures in the palace. Quickly pass through, don't stay. Remember, the longer you stay here, the easier it is to attract spirits. Pass through this floor as fast as possible." What about the third floor? After we pass through the first two floors, we'll enter the true 10,000 corpse ancient tomb. We'll meet up on the third floor. Kai Dai excitedly said, "Then let's go in." Wait a moment. Chu Tian untied the talisman bag. He took out half of the talismans from inside. These are light attributed level 1 talismans. You take care of them. At a critical moment, they can be used to break the evil spirits. You take them with you, just in case. Kai Dai revealed a grateful look. "Thank you." Chu Tian slightly nodded. Although he was not familiar with Kai Dai, they were still companions. He should take care of her. Kai Dai's strength was not considered strong, but the ancient tomb had sealed their cultivation. Everyone was pulled back to below the awakened soul realm. The ghosts were not that strong. Kai Dai herself had a high-grade spirit weapon. Adding these level 1 talismans, her safety was guaranteed. Let's go. The two of them held the ancient tomb token as they walked through the light door. In an instant, the surroundings changed, the scenery and sounds all disappeared. The temperature dropped several degrees. Their vision became pitch black. This was a pitch black and empty space, deep and mysterious, empty and deathly still. It was enough to arouse humanity's most ancient fears. Chu Tian felt the soles of his feet were floating, like he was stepping on a small boat on the water, because Chu Tian was standing on a black stone slab. Below him was a bottomless abyss. Looking ahead, there were tens of thousands of stone slabs, all of different heights, scattered in the air, forming a long floating road straight to the end of his vision. An illusion array? Chu Tian closed his eyes and opened his mind's eye. The illusion array was too big. The mind's eye's range was limited. He couldn't find any flaws. Powerful, the perfect combination of reality and illusion. Among the designers of this 10,000 corpse ancient tomb, there was definitely a great array master. This is the legendary Death Abyss. Everyone be careful. Don't fall into the abyss. If you accidentally fall, you will immediately be swallowed by the abyss. Your soul will be imprisoned in the ancient tomb, never to be reincarnated. Everyone had just adapted to the environment, preparing to move forward. In the endless void, a strong astral wind suddenly erupted. That astral wind contained a strong strength. Even a cow would be blown away. Several youths could not react in time. They were blown into the air from the stone slabs. "Ah, save me, save me." The youths waved their limbs, but they could not grab the stone slabs. Falling into the abyss, their pitiful cries stopped. Gone. A living person was gone like this, as if he had never existed. Everyone quickly used their spirit energy to protect their bodies, blocking the astral wind, avoiding being blown into the abyss. This place was too terrifying. One careless step, and they would be consigned to eternal damnation. It made their hearts tremble. It seemed like they couldn't stay here for long. Chu Tian stepped on the floating stone slabs, slowly moving forward. Look, that's source energy crystal stones. So many source energy crystal stones. Several people shouted with faces of pleasant surprise, attracting everyone's attention. On both sides of the floating stone road, there were countless broken crystal stones floating in the air, shining with an alluring light. Source stones. They were all source stones. Several hundred to 1,000. This was enough to make an awakened soul cultivator go crazy. A low-grade source stone could be exchanged for at least 10,000 gold coins. This many source stones were equivalent to several 100 million gold coins. What kind of shocking wealth was this? Chu Tian felt his heart palpitate. But the bronze-masked old man had warned Chu Tian. There were many temptations in the abyss of death. Most of them could not be obtained. If he rashly made a move, he would only die. Although the money was tempting, his life was more important. Chu Tian calmed his mind and began to move forward. At this time, a large man with a full beard excitedly shouted, "There are many treasures in front of us." Treasures? Chu Tian looked up. There was an ancient bronze mirror. It was being blown by the astral wind. The surface of the mirror was flashing with profound runes. One look, and he could tell it was a very powerful treasure. The distance was less than 10 feet. It was hard for people to resist the urge to take the risk. There were more and more treasures appearing around them. Cold, glinting treasured swords, scarlet red treasured sabers, golden silk armors. There were too many treasures here. Were they left behind by treasure hunters? Or did they originally exist in the ancient tomb? In short, they were all spirit-grade equipment. Not a single one was common. It made people's blood boil. Chu Tian was not affected. Although the treasures were tempting, he had to be alive to take them. These treasures were all spirit-grade items. Even if their value was high, it was still very limited. It was not worth the risk. The astral wind on both sides was too strong. If he was sucked in, he would be instantly blown away. Chu Tian continued to move forward. The surrounding treasures were even more tempting. A cultivator shouted with red eyes, "Pure grass." It was actually pure grass. There were some fragments in the air. The large ones were several meters in diameter. The small ones were like floating stones. All kinds of heaven and earth treasures were growing on them. Pure grass was a very precious treasure. When the cultivator saw a small island fragment, there were several dozen pure grass growing on it. Moreover, the island fragment was only 10 feet away. He almost went crazy with excitement. With the help of the pure grass, I can refine the extreme sword chi. At that time, within the same level, who can stop me? This is mine. No one can steal it from me. The cultivator roared. White spirit energy surged out from his body. He suddenly jumped, jumping towards the island full of pure grass. 10 feet, 9 feet, 8 feet. The spirit energy on the cultivator's body quickly dissipated. This was because the further he was from the stone road, the stronger the astral wind was. With his peak 9th body refinement layer cultivation, how could he resist such strong astral wind? When he was about 5 feet away, the cultivator's protective spirit energy was like a candle in the wind, finally completely extinguished. No, no. The cultivator screamed in fear. He wanted to turn back, but it was simply an extravagant hope. The strong astral wind wrapped around his body, blowing him away, leaving behind only a mournful cry of despair in the darkness. This cultivator's miserable state poured a bucket of cold water on the others. Difficult, too difficult. There were countless treasures. Wanting to obtain them, was it easier said than done? Chu Tian's eyes flashed. He had the mind's eye. He could observe the changes in the astral wind. The astral wind had a certain pattern. At a certain time it would be at its strongest, but at a certain moment it would weaken. If he made a move when the astral wind weakened, would he have a chance? Everyone continued walking. There were several tragedies. Cultivators tried to obtain treasures. but were blown away by the astral wind. Among them, there was one person who reached his destination, even personally grabbed a treasure, but was swept away on his way back. Everyone could not help but sigh. The abyss of death. It really was a place that devoured people without spitting out their bones. It fully stimulated people's greed, then led them to their deaths. Chu Tian coldly watched from his side. He firmly believed that he had grasped the astral wind's pattern. There was a way. There must be a way. At this time, another small island was blown over. The small island was covered with dark blue herbs. There was also a stone table. On the stone table, there was a transparent jade bottle and a ring. It was about 7 feet away. That transparent jade bottle was filled with a refreshing energy. Even though it was so far away, it made people feel their bodies shake. Even the small wounds on their bodies quickly healed. That simple and unadorned ring was filled with a sharp aura. It was clearly a very powerful treasure. Those blue herbs were filled with an alluring aura. Even if it was the most common herb, if it could grow for hundreds or even thousands of years, it would be enough to become a treasure of the elixir grade. The small island was covered with blue herbs. How could people not be moved? This was truly a great fortune. At this time, the astral wind had just passed its peak. It was rapidly weakening. Chu Tian had already grasped the pattern of the astral wind's changes. A good chance. Taking a few steps, he jumped off the stone road, entered the endless void, and flew towards the small island. Chapter 70. Everyone suddenly cried out in alarm. There was actually someone who wanted to die. Did this brat not want to live anymore? Everyone couldn't help stopping in their tracks. They looked at this idiot who couldn't resist the temptation and took the initiative to jump out to die. Chu Tian had just jumped off the floating stone path when his body was immediately covered in a layer of starlight. All around him, the biting cold astral winds suddenly attacked him. Just like blades and nails, they continuously hit his body. The starlight scattered in all directions, and the light gradually weakened. Such strong astral winds. A normal person in such a harsh environment would be instantly torn to pieces. Even with the starlight immortal body, Chu Tian still felt a little strained. Although the astral winds had become smaller, they were still much sharper. Was this really a trap? If he didn't have a strong enough defensive cultivation technique, he would have thought that he had grasped the laws of the astral winds. If he recklessly jumped out, he wouldn't even know how he died. However, this kind of strong astral winds, Chu Tian should still be able to withstand it. Therefore, he didn't have any spare energy as he charged forward at full speed towards the small island in front of him. 5 meters, 4 meters, 3 meters, 2 meters, 1 meter. Just as Chu Tian felt that the starlight immortal body was about to reach its limit, he finally landed on the small island with a pung sound. His surroundings suddenly loosened, and the astral winds that had wrapped around him like 1,000 knives finally disappeared. Success. He really succeeded. The cultivators on the floating path opened their eyes wide. This brat had actually braved the astral winds and jumped onto the small island. Chu Tian knew that time was life, so he quickly rushed to the stone table. Without even looking at it, he grabbed the jade bottle and the ring, stuffing them into his chest. Other than these 2 treasures, the small island was filled with 1,000-year-old elixirs. There were at least several hundred of them. If he could bring them out, how shocking of a fortune would that be? Hoo. The astral winds around the small island began to howl. The astral winds began to gradually increase in strength. Not good. There was no time. Chu Tian randomly pulled out several stalks and ran while stuffing them into his chest. Starlight continued to condense around his body as he once again activated the starlight immortal body to its peak. With a low roar, like a great rock spreading its wings, it jumped high into the air again and flew straight toward the floating path. From jumping out to jumping back, the entire process had only taken a few seconds. However, the astral winds in the void had doubled in strength and continued to strengthen at an astonishing rate. Bang, bang. When the countless invisible blades of astral wind slashed at him, a cracking sound appeared around Chu Tian. 3 meters, 2 meters, 1 meter. When Chu Tian was about to return to the floating path, the starlight immortal body suddenly exploded. Chu Tian's body was instantly cut by the sharp astral wind, leaving 5-6 deep wounds on his body. If it was an ordinary person, their mind would have been thrown into chaos and they would have fallen into the bottomless abyss on the spot. Chu Tian, however, remained unmoved. He continued to maintain the steady flow of his origin energy. In the end, under the dangerous situation, he finally landed firmly on the floating path. Chu Tian let out a long breath and wiped the sweat from his forehead. He looked into the boundless darkness at the astral winds that were wreaking havoc everywhere. This is so fucking dangerous. If I was just a little bit slower, or if my will wasn't strong enough, I'm afraid I would never be able to reincarnate. No matter what. Anyway, the thing was already in his hands. Chu Tian took out the thing from his chest, and a satisfied smile appeared on his face. He was afraid that he was the only one who could obtain a treasure from this place of death. What was this herb? Looking at its aura and color, there was no doubt that it was a 1,000-year-old herb. No matter how ordinary the herb was, as long as it was a 1,000-year-old herb, it would be a treasure of the elixir level. It was something that could only be encountered but not sought. It was something that cultivators would fight over. Chu Tian placed the herb in front of his nose and sniffed it. A vigorous essence, qi, suddenly flowed into Chu Tian's body, allowing him to recover a bit of his consumed yuan qi. Chu Tian's eyes lit up. 1,000-year-old origin essence grass. Origin essence grass was a relatively common consumable that could be refined into a quick recovery origin energy potion. The amount of origin energy consumed was the key factor that determined the outcome. A medicine that could quickly recover origin energy was equivalent to a second life. 1,000-year-old origin essence grass. How strong was its medicinal effect? Even if it was eaten raw, it could instantly restore one's origin energy and increase one's cultivation base without any side effects. With several 1,000-year-old origin essence grass in hand, as long as the other side did not have overwhelming strength, even if he was surrounded, Chu Tian would still have the strength to protect himself. Not bad. This was really not bad. Those Wind Swordsman, Giant Spirit Scholar, Purple Lightning Young Master, don't look at how strong they were outside. If they fought with Chu Tian in the ancient tomb, they would not necessarily be able to beat Chu Tian. These origin essence grass could allow Chu Tian to go all out in a fight. He would no longer have to worry about consuming too much origin energy. What was this jade bottle? Chu Tian had just taken out the jade bottle when an enticing fragrance wafted out. The bottle was filled with a glowing liquid. This was life essence water. An entire pool of spring of life could only refine a few drops of life essence water. This water was a saint healing medicine. It could revive the dead. As long as there was still a breath left, it could save a person's life. Of course, this was for awakened soul cultivators. A bottle of saint healing medicine? No, not only that. Chu Tian found that the jade bottle's material was not simple. It should not be a simple container. When he carefully looked at it, he found that there were several ancient source energy arrays at the bottom of the bottle. Chu Tian could see through the effects of the source energy arrays with a single glance, and he couldn't help smiling. A good life bottle. This bottle contained life essence water. It could directly refine life essence water. The jade bottle was made of a kind of jade stone that could absorb life essence. The array at the bottom of the bottle was used to refine life essence water. In other words, the life essence water inside the bottle could not be used up. It could be continuously produced. Naturally, the production speed was very slow. It would take several weeks or even several months to form a bottle. If it was placed in the spring of life outside South Sky City, it would only take 1 to 2 hours to form a bottle. The value of life essence water was shocking. A jade bottle that could produce life essence water. It was simply a priceless treasure. Chu Tian carefully looked at the ring. This ring released a sharp aura, and the source energy array on it was a bit familiar. Chu Tian carefully looked at it for a few seconds, and then he put on his right index finger without even thinking about it. Perfect. He had taken a large risk this time, but it was worth it in terms of the harvest. Everyone looked at each other in blank dismay. So many people had failed, but Chu Tian had come back alive. What is going on here? No matter what the reason was, this fellow had obtained a treasure. How could they not be jealous? The most hateful thing was, this fellow had taken it out as if there was no one present. Everyone has seen these treasures. The bearded man angrily roared, "Brat, how can you take it all for yourself?" Another person also shouted, "That's right, everyone has a share." The two of them opened their mouths. Everyone began to boil. "Quickly take it out. I want the ring. I want that jade bottle." The cultivators in front and behind all had red eyes as they slowly surrounded him. This brat was alone. Could he deal with everyone? The bearded man loudly shouted, "Let me tell you, I am an awakened soul cultivator. You giving me the treasure first is your good fortune. Quickly take it out. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself. Who told you to take the treasure in front of everyone? Immediately take out everything on your body and we'll spare your life." Chu Tian silently looked at these evil wolf-like people. His lips curled into a contemptuous cold smile. The ring on his right hand released a strong fluctuation and a strong aura suddenly erupted. Such a strong aura. The bearded man shouted for the sword Dao ring. He excitedly shouted, "This treasure belongs to me. You want it?" Chu Tian's eyes flashed with killing intent. "Then take it." Chu Tian waved his finger, and a light blue sword chi suddenly shot out. Its speed was too fast. The bearded man was split into two halves on the spot. None of the 4 or 5 people who were in a straight line were spared. They were split in half like vegetables and directly fell into the bottomless abyss, disappearing from sight. Everyone was shocked. This brat was this strong? No, it should be said that the ring was this strong. That sword chi was not inferior to the full power attack of a first-layer awakened soul cultivator. It wasn't that there weren't any awakened soul cultivators here, but under the ancient tomb's seal, it was impossible for them to display such a strong strength. It was also impossible for this brat to do so. It was the effect of the ring. Chu Tian coldly swept his eyes over these people. "The treasure is here. Come and take it." These people were like ducks being grabbed by the neck. They could not make a sound. They all opened their eyes wide and looked at Chu Tian with a face full of fear. They were not willing to be the first ones to take the lead. "Scram for me." Everyone was so scared that they opened a path. Chu Tian swaggered over. These people kept quiet out of fear, not even daring to let out a fart. In the end, this world was ruled by strength. Whoever's fist was harder was the master. When they saw Chu Tian's fierce battle strength, how could they still dare to steal his things? After Chu Tian quickly left, he looked at the ring for a while. This sword chi ring was very easy to use. It could condense wind sword chi by pouring in spirit energy. Moreover, it was the sword chi of a first-layer awakened soul cultivator. Its strength was fixed. It was not affected by the ancient tomb's seal. This treasure could allow a body refinement cultivator to display an awakened soul cultivator's attack. To a normal person, it was incomparably precious. For Chu Tian at his current level, it could make up for his shortcomings. Chu Tian had a strong defense, but his attack power was lacking. The sword chi ring could make up for Chu Tian's lack of attack power. Chu Tian continued to walk forward. There were many treasures around him, but there were only a few that came within 10 feet of him. Moreover, the abyss of death's astral wind seemed to become stronger as time passed. There was no other way. The value of these treasures was not low, but it was not worth risking his life for. Without 100% certainty, Chu Tian would not take this risk. Finally, the suspended stone path came to an end. Chu Tian entered the second floor through a door of light. First floor, abyss of death passed. Second floor, resentment spirit hall opened. The dark and empty world disappeared. Chu Tian arrived in front of a large group of dilapidated ancient palaces. His entire field of vision was covered by a faint black fog. 10 meters away was a blind spot. A cold wind blew through the ash-gray fog. accompanied by the cries of ghosts, making one's heart feel a little uneasy. The bronze-masked old man had said that the first 2 floors tests were not that difficult. But as more and more cultivators died in the ancient tomb, the second floor became more and more dangerous. Because of the cultivators that died in the ancient tomb, their souls were locked, their resentment was very strong. Finally, they turned into evil spirits in the resentment spirit hall. They were incomparably jealous of the cultivators that came after them. Every time they encountered them, they would endlessly chase after them, making it more and more difficult. Chu Tian had just entered the fog when the fog began to boil, as if it had a life of its own. Waves of mournful howls came from all directions, disturbing a person's mind. The ghost fog was not a normal fog. It was a kind of evil energy. A normal person would be sucked dry in a short amount of time. Even a cultivator that was not weak would become weaker and weaker if they stayed here for a long time. This was not a good place to stay. The resentment spirit hall was already filled with danger. Now he had to constantly resist the ghost fog. How could it be easy? At this time, a strong aura came, making Chu Tian's heart slightly startled. Thinking that it was a ghost, he immediately condensed starlight to protect his body. A proud and cold voice came from the ghost fog. Your defensive cultivation technique is not bad. A purple figure walked out from the fog. Her skin was as white as snow. Her jet black hair scattered down her back. Her face was covered with a veil. A pair of bright eyes stared at him. Her temperament was proud, cold, and holy, like a thorny rose. Yin Yao's body was surrounded by thin lightning. Once the fog approached her, it would immediately be repelled. Lightning could repel evil spirits. The ghost fog had no effect on her at all. It's actually this woman? You really are unlucky. Chu Tian revealed an evil smile. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.